welcome everybody. I am so excited for today's live stream, and I already see there are some wonderful crafty friends in the live chat. Just want to give a quick shout out to Meg. Welcome, Meg. Meg's excited for this conversation too. I also see Mary of Mary's Card Craft. Thank you and welcome. And I also see Rabbit Hole Designs. Welcome. Thank you for joining today. And Sweet Sentiment, I believe this is Jamie. Welcome. Cynthia, welcome. And Cordelia, welcome. So I am really excited. This is part 3 of my Let's Talk Design Team series. And if you're joining live, thank you so much. And please do um, say hello in the live chat and let us know where you're joining us from. I love to know where around the world everybody is coming from. If you're catching this on replay, thank you so much. I hope you'll leave a comment on this video and let me know what you think of this talk. The goal of this series is to have real, honest conversations about design teams, and I have some amazing guests joining me today. You'll see them in a bit, so there will be a video, but let me first give you some context about today's talk. In part 1 of my series, my creative team and I talked about the outside perspective of what a design team is, especially if you've never been on one. In part 2, we had an amazing conversation with designers who have had a lot of DT experience, and they shared what it's really like to be on a DT, both the good and the bad. Both of these live streams are available on replay if you did miss them, so you can catch those, but maybe wait until after the stream and catch them afterwards. And today in part 3, my panelists are some amazing women who run their own stamp and die companies and recruit and manage their own design teams. This is such a unique opportunity for me to get to talk to DT owners and learn firsthand their perspective on design teams. My goal with this series has always been to lift the veil on design teams. And I feel a big mystery for me is what DT owners have to consider and manage from their side of things. So I hope that you find this talk as enlightening as I know that I will. I should also mention this live stream is not sponsored by my panelists today. They are all here because they have a true desire to speak openly and honestly about design teams. And they believe, as I do, that this isn't a taboo topic. There's a lot that we can learn from one another by having earnest conversation. And truly, they are all open books on this topic. So I hope and I encourage everyone in the live chat to also ask your questions. And I do appreciate these ladies for taking time out of their busy schedules. As small business owners, they do it all. They do it all. So I appreciate that they are incredibly busy, but they've made some time to have this conversation with us. And I literally just told them, so I didn't let them know ahead of time, but as a thank you, I do want to give them the opportunity after our discussion to tell us about anything cool that's going on at their shops, any new releases, sneaky peeks, or events and promotions. So everyone watching, please do hang out with us to the end, and each of our panelists will get to talk a little bit about what's going on in their shops. Before we do get underway, though, I would like to ask, I gotta say this, I would like to ask, can everyone take a moment to like this stream? It helps people who might also be interested in this topic discover it. Because my channel is small and YouTube will probably be more likely to suggest this stream if it does have a lot of engagement. Also, now's maybe a good time to actually hit that share button and let people know that we're live right now. That way, if they see your notification, they actually might be able to catch in time to join us live. And that way they can be a part of the conversation and ask questions along with us. Okay, so without further ado, let's meet today's panelists. So as I introduce each of my guests, I would like for them to tell us a little bit about themselves, but also tell us a little bit, just some broad strokes about their design team so that we can have a little bit of context as we dive deeper into the roundtable discussion. So, guests, as each of you, as part of your introduction, could you also please be sure to answer these questions? How long have you run your own DT? How many people are on your DT? Do you have open calls or do you handpick your team? So let's get started and let me bring on, I'll have those questions. Hopefully you can remember them. I don't have a ticker for it. So how long have you had your own DT? How many people are on your DT? And do you have open calls or do you handpick your team? So let me introduce my first guest, Tammy Louise of TLC Designs. Welcome, Tammy Louise.
Hi, Lynn. Thank you for having me. Are you there?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Tammy Louise, and I run TLC Designs out of the state of Michigan. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me. So the company is 3 years old. It started in March of 2020. And how many people are on my design team? I kind of wrote this down so I didn't miss any of the important facts. So I'm going to look like I'm reading a little bit, but I'll be sure to make sure that it's conversational. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate. I have my hobby over here on the left-hand side, my streaming guru, that will find any questions that maybe he could help you answer while we're going live. So um, in year one, I wanted to express first that I've had 3 years and the design teams were there all 3 years. The design teams have changed, so I wanted to express that in my first year, I had between 10 and 12 different design team members that were considered full time. They were doing 3 or 4 projects per month, and the expectation for them was to share their projects on the blog, and I'll get into that a little bit later during my conversation, and Facebook, and a little bit of Instagram, not a great deal. And YouTube wasn't really at the same status as it is now as far as a customer base. So I had 10 to 12 design team members at that point. It was my first year, and it was a live call. So a lot of applicants came in, and I really had to spend an enormous amount of time trying to surf through them, find what I did want, find what I didn't want. And fortunately, that's something that you have to experience when you're beginning. And then the second year, you've learned some lessons and you know more of what you're looking for. So it does take experience, but I always encouraged everyone to apply regardless of their experience levels. In year two, I had 5 or 6 full-time design team members with 3 projects per month, and they were expected to share on Facebook, the store blog, Instagram, and then I had specifically put 2 or 3 design team members on a YouTube only basis, which meant they weren't expected to, like Lynn knows, it does take a lot more time to make a project on a video and then edit the video and then load the video. So the expectations were 2 to 3 projects per month for them, and they didn't have to do any blogging. I used the portraits that they took of the projects and then shared on all of the Facebook and the Instagram. At that time, we Twittered, and there were some other places that were expected to, but I did that sharing. I didn't expect YouTube designers to do that. In the third year, oh, and I had some guest designers the second year as well, which meant just people that came in on that one release day. The number of projects were important for me on release day because all of those pictures are used for graphic design, artwork, ads, hops, flash sales, things that the store needed, as well as Facebook headers and things like that. All of those pictures were needed, so I needed a larger quantity. So I had some extra guest designers the second year as well. The third year, that's this year. So I've learned that the need for quality projects and pictures for my ads and my graphic graphics that are made for the hops and things that I do with the store, it's more quality than quantity. So this year I have right now two. I did not do a live call for this either. This was something that sort of was word of mouth. And I think that it became more simple for me to do it that way than to do a live call, although there is something to be said for the live calls as well, because I love to give the opportunity to people that are truly interested in being on a design team. I want to give everyone, regardless of their experience levels, an opportunity to learn and grow their skills. So, but I didn't do that this year. I have two full-time design team members that create 3 or 4 projects per month. I have 4 guest designers that come in for the new releases. And I have a YouTube designer that does a video specifically for what we have, a product that we have, Sketch Easy. And she does the entire product in her video. And then she also creates for the release as well. That's Lynn. Thank you, Lynn, for
I was going to say, you can say it.
I wasn't sure, but I thought, it's not going to hurt anything. So, and you do a fantastic job. And you also bring some skills to the table that I had not yet experienced with YouTube designers, which is like the shorts. The social media platforms are changing so fast. Within a 6-month period, a different platform will be more popular, and that's where the customers are. And believe it or not, that's where the store needs to be. So it's important that the design teams also revolve and look for people that have experience. Like one designer will be directing all of her energy and time and efforts on YouTube to gain her audience, which is fantastic. And I look also for designers that are specific on YouTube. But another designer might go, I love Instagram. It's my place. It's where I, find sharing the most important. Well, that's good for a store as well. So I've decided that a long time ago, we used to have 10 or 15 people that just did all the same thing. We all blogged. Blogs are no longer where the spot is, although there is a need for them because our SEO or search engine optimization comes directly from blogging. So you have to sort of, as a store owner, keep everything live going all the time. And that's difficult without a design team that has a little bit of experience in all the different social media platforms. So that's where I am as far as design teams go. And so that made 3 or 4 guest designers, a YouTube designer, that's 5, and 2 full-times. So 7 people that I send product out to create projects for me so that I can use those pictures in all of the advertising and graphics that I do for the store. So I'm going to go to the avatar. I do definitely have COVID mind gaps.
No problem.
The names, the words just don't come to me anymore like they used to. So some of the other things that I wanted to mention is it's become more relevant to have a smaller number of projects and the pictures that inspire or pique the interest in the product every time they're posted than it is to have 15 girls posting 3 or 4 times a month. It's just become more desirable as the store owner to have something that really is going to drive sales and have conversions from what they're putting out there. So, like I said, this industry, it's no longer, in my opinion, it's no longer blog driven. I always keep an eye on the conversion start points when I go into my analytics of where the sales are coming from. If it's a design team's site that the sale originated at, then that team member becomes productive and someone that you want to continue to work with. Maybe not switch until year and a half is over. My terms are 6 months at a time. I think it gives the design team member an opportunity to start and learn and either become and succeed or find that it's not their hobby. It's not what they were looking for. This is a business. It's it's fun and it's relaxing and it's my go-to spot when I become the crafter. I take that store owner hat off basically, and I become a crafter and I get to get in here on Thursday nights and just have that craft hour. There's nothing better for me. There's no more joy in my life than when I get to do that. But when you're running a store and a design team member is under contract. They said, yes, Tammy, Louise, you're someone that I want to work with. I love the products that are in the store. I can't wait to get started. Let me help you circulate your brand. That's an agreement that they have that they should take very seriously. It's not all fun and games. It is fun. It's not necessarily a game for us. It's something that we get our livelihood from, and we want to be as productive and active in the industry as possible. So it takes a good design team with the right mindset. And once you find them, you kind of hold on to them for as long as you can. So I'm going to go into, do you have open calls or handpick my team? So I discussed that earlier. I've done both. The first call was an open one. It was successful and teach me that there's hundreds of people out there. The 10 to 12 members, I discovered that the quantity of design teams isn't always cost effective either, because you're sending out a ton of product. And if it isn't converting into sales, then it's a loss for you. Even if you can claim it on your income taxes, it's still a loss. So that's not productive at any point. I do now get recommendations from people that work with me. I too have a design team coordinator. His name is Shanna, and she is the frontline defense, not defense, but frontline for questions for how to, where do I. She sets up the HTML code for all the releases, so my design team can just go in, make a copy and paste, and set up the Instagram hop and not go into, everybody has a different way of verbiage. So everything is kind of standardized. She gives the lists of how to hop in an order and things like that. And I think that it's been pretty productive. What do you think, Lynn? Having that already said and done for you, you can just go and grab it. Do you
Yeah,
enjoy it that way more than trying to come up with?
wonderful, Tammy Louise. Thank you so much. I do want to get a chance to introduce the rest of the panel today. So
Oh, okay.
let's save some of that for the discussion, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and
Great.
I would welcome that back and forth.
Did I cover
Um,
those 3 questions?
yeah, you're
Oh,
good.
perfect.
You've covered that beautifully. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I did already, but I will do it again. I did share a link to TLC Designs. So if you are curious to check out Tammy Louise's shop, there's an easy link for you to click over to. And as I mentioned when I saw Jamie pop into the live chat, Jamie was planning on joining us live and chatting along with us, but unfortunately she has bronchitis and she is not feeling well. But I'm so happy to see you, Jamie, in the live chat. And I think she is in as Sweet Sentiment Stamps, because she is the co-owner of Sweet Sentiment Stamps along with Sandy. So Sandy, welcome to the Let's Talk Design Teams Part 3. Can you please introduce yourself? And if you need, I can remind you the quick questions I wanted you to answer. Or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
wonderful.
So, so I'm Sandy Ledoux, aka you'll see Copic Diva around. My Instagram is under Copic Diva. I own Sweet Sentiment Stamps with Jamie Clark. She's my bestie, and I've been either crafting or drawing most of my life. I'm also an artist and a designer, as well as the financials for our company. So I wear many hats. I have lots of fun, and Jamie started the business by herself a little over 4 years ago. I teamed up with her in January of 2022, although I was her design team coordinator pretty much the whole time prior to our partnership. So I've been along for the whole ride, but I've only been an owner with the company since January 2022. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about us. And I have the questions here actually so that I would be
Yay.
able to answer them. Um, how long have you run your own DT? So, like I said, about 4 years. It's been, I think Jamie maybe did it for a couple of months before she had me do the coordinating of the design team. So, we have a bit of experience with that. It's super fun, but a lot of work. We have how many people on our design team? So currently we have 6 regular design team members and 1 guest. We also have a design team coordinator. Her name is Cameron Bright. They're actually a family team. So her husband, Tyler Bright, is on our design team. So they're very supportive of us. So they're involved a lot with our company. She also runs our back office system. So we are super grateful to her. Um, we generally carry about 6 design team members. We are always open to looking at adding to that, or, sometimes they rotate out. We try to keep them same people all the time. So, the third question was, do you have open calls or handpick your team? We generally handpick our team. We haven't done an open call because a lot of people get their feelings hurt because you didn't choose them. And generally, it's not because their work is not good or great or fabulous. It's just there's so many different reasons why we would choose to handpick someone. So, I think we'll get into the details on what we look for and what we want later on. So I'm not going to touch on that just yet. I'll wait until we get to that part. So hopefully that tells you a little bit about me and a little bit about the first 3 questions, and then I will pass it back to Lynn to
Thank you.
go forward from there.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Yes, thanks for saving a little bit. I know we're gonna go deep on some of these topics. So again, want to thank you both and want to thank Jamie for being in the live chat with us as well. I do have a couple more things before our conversation starts. So whether you are catching us live or on replay, I just want to say, please keep in mind that the opinions and experiences shared today are just that. They are not meant to be taken as hard facts because every design team and every company's needs are different. So while Tammy, Louise, and Sandy will be sharing a lot of thoughts on design teams, that's not to say that they're trying to represent every single design team out there. So I just want everybody to bear that in mind. And since our panelists are sharing their thoughts and opinions, it's going to be based on a wealth of experience. And I know that they've had experience on both sides of things as DT members, as well as now being the owners of businesses and owning and running their own DT. So I would like to keep this an open space so that they can feel free to share their opinions freely. Most of our topics are pretty general, but I would still like to ask the audience to do me the favor of not speculating or drawing any inferences about any specific DT members on their teams. So as they're sharing, let's not try to make any sort of assumptions. And for everybody who is joining us, feel free to share your experiences in the live chat as well. Or if you're catching on replay, leave some comments and share your thoughts and experiences too. We would love to hear them and learn from them as well. I do have several topics planned to cover today. And as we're discussing each topic, I'd love for anyone in the live chat to ask any follow-up questions that you may have. And if you do have a question that's off topic, though, if you could just please hold off on asking that until the end, because there's a chance we might actually cover it a little bit later in our conversation. And as well, there will be an open Q&A after the roundtable discussion. And so you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions then. And this way, this just helps us all stay focused and hopefully hit on all of the topics that we plan to talk about. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into our first question. So I'd like to actually just start off by laying a foundation for why design teams even exist. And Tammy, Louise, Sandy, I know you both touched on this a little bit, but did you always have one from the very start of your business? And can you share your motivation for starting a design team and why you even have one? And Sandy, I'm going to throw it to you to start us off, and then we'll hear from Tammy Louise. So, can you get us started on
Yes,
that?
I sure can. Yes, we pretty much have always had a design team now. It started off really small in the beginning when Jamie started the company. I kind of carried it for her. I loved everything she did. I just love her. So I was willing to support in any way that I could. So I started out making a ton of stuff with her products to try to advertise for her and help out. And then we just grew it from there. But it is very important to have a design team because people want to see what other people do with the products. It can't just be one person's. Not everybody likes everything I do, and not everybody likes everything someone else does. So you need a wide variety of ideas and examples and product like that. So I think a design team is very, very important. And that's why we take it so seriously and consider them part of our family.
Awesome. Timmy Louise, what are your thoughts? Did you always have one to
Um,
start? Why
I
why did you
did.
start one?
So I think they're on the front lines of any brand. I think they work to make projects that are going to entice purchases. I think that they show the diversity of your product. So one person, like she had mentioned, one person will do shabby chic design and probably have all of her followers that love her blog and what she's been creating. And for your product to be used in her shabby chic style versus a clean and simple style, it's important to have the diversity with the product. So I think that they are on the front line of any brand, really. That's why I decided to have a design team.
Awesome. And I see from Jamie, she says, and I think you might have seen this comment come through, Tammy Louise, that they, meaning your DT members, are our frontline in advertising, and they are the inspiration for others to use our products. And we have another Jamie in the house of the Not Too Shabby Shop. Welcome, Jamie. She says, totally agree. It's nice to show different styles. Awesome. Oh, another
Um,
comment from Jamie Clark. Yes, we love that DT is so diverse in showing how to use topics, our products. So wonderful.
I think
Awesome.
they also, if I could mention one other thing, they also they have the ability to support the community inspiration. So not only are they creating for you, but they're in those groups, like my creative sharing group. They kind of throw their inspiration out there for the people that are in the group, and it's not only used for marketing content. In other words, it's to maybe someone has never made cards and wants to get into it, and they get inspiration directly from what the design team member puts in those groups as well. So marketing, sales, and inspiration to your customers.
So even though you do both have design teams, obviously, do you both still do a fair amount of crafting? Do you have time for that as you run your
Yeah.
business?
If I could,
Absolutely.
yeah, good. So how much crafting do you get to do? I want to know, Sandy. Do you get in there a lot?
I I do a lot of crafting, but I will tell you that that happens late at night. I'm a night owl. I don't sleep a whole lot. So there is a lot of crafting going on in my room until all hours of the night, which works great for Jamie and I because she's a more early bird and I'm a night owl. So I do a
Oh,
lot of
it's so
my
funny.
lives late at night. My lives are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:30 Central PM. So
Oh, wow.
I'm up late. I catch the night owls. So I actually do quite a bit of crafting. I send cards to birthdays, special occasions all the time. I have like it all organized out, pull it at the beginning of the month, send it out. So yeah, I do a lot.
Yes, and
That,
Meg in the comments says Sandy is prolific. I know you both stream, so I knew the answer to this question before I asked it. I do want to read
Yes.
this question, this
Uh-huh.
comment from the Rabbit Hole Designs. She says, "Without the inspiration from the DT/brand ambassadors, I would never buy some companies' products. Sometimes it takes me seeing a product used in a certain way to just say I have to buy that now." And is that how you feel sometimes too? That is the motivation or one of the
it's
reasons?
very common. It's very common. Actually, I get emails from customers, people that patron my store often, that said, will let me know. I was astonished at this design team member's project. I fell in love with that die. So yes, absolutely. It's extremely important. The goal is always to create inspiration as a design team member. In my personal opinion, not only you're trying to inspire them, but you're trying to show them what the product can do. Here's what this can do, and it might be different than what somebody else comes up with. So it's really important.
Lots of love for you, Sandy, and your live streams. You have some other Night Owl fans in our live chat. So
I do. I have some regulars for sure. I don't think there's a lot of people that do live stream at night. So yeah, I've pulled several night owls that hang out with me. I love it. It's awesome.
That's wonderful. I think having a partner that is on the opposite schedule and can do things that get taken care of at that hour versus, like, I'm a night owl too. So, dealing with companies that are on the other side of the world, trying to get through manufacturing and things like that, I have to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. I don't have somebody that can come and help me at 6 a.m. But no, I'm envious of that. That's fantastic.
awesome, wonderful.
Well, that's why our team works so well with my bestie being morning and me being night. We get to catch everything.
That's great.
I'm glad that works out really, really well for both of you. Okay, so question number 2. So I want to bring a little bit of continuity from my previous 2 talks in this series, and in both of them actually there was quite a lot of discussion about how to get noticed, how to get onto a design team, and what skills are necessary. And Tammy Louise actually touched on this a little bit in terms of how design teams, at least her specifically, has changed to meet the changing needs. And so we're all curious, what do you look for when you're choosing your design team? And I am going to throw it over to Tammy Louise to get us started on this one.
Okay. So go ahead and put it on my avatar, please, because I wanted to I don't want to be looking downward on the camera. So what do you look for when you evaluate a design team? I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. The first thing that I look for is a current social media presence. So in my mind, that means that they're posting at least once a week on whatever platform they prefer. I think it's important because it's going to show that their interest in the industry is truly there, and they're trying to build, for whatever purpose they need an audience. It could be monetary, it could be just a social thing, whatever reason they're posting on a weekly basis. I think that's really important. Number 2, anyone that serves on my design team must understand how Facebook, and now it wasn't in the past this way, but now Instagram as well. So if you come in and say, "Oh, I don't have a Facebook page, but I'd really like to work on your team," it isn't something that can be worked with easily. So I'll leave that at that. The project pictures need to entice me to look further at the products. So I'm looking for symmetrical projects. They have focal points. Maybe they're selling the stamp, maybe they're selling the flowers, maybe they're selling something else, but it needs to be what's focal. Good color coordination is important, but not mandatory. That's something that can be learned and picked up on. It's also a plus when they use 3 or 4 more products in each of their projects. So maybe design paper plus stamps plus uh, stenciling or something. I mean, uh, not that they have to be completely packed, but it's important to not just have one. I'm not looking for super simple, but clean and simple is something that is trending right now. You could still use a sentiment stamp plus a little bit of coloring for an illustration and some design paper. That's 3 out of the 4. Lastly, the pictures have to be clear. They have to be well lit. It's a plus to stage them if you are able. When you take the picture and maybe even add a little bit of product in the staging, that's really nice. It's not a necessity to be on my team, but it is a plus. Or at least you have knowledge of how to use watermarks. That's really important because once they're on the design team, they're going to be circulating in your name with your product. So you're going to want people to understand that this is the store that has that product. So that's pretty much all I had.
Awesome. Sandy, before we get to you, should I read Jamie's answers? I'll sub in for
You
I'll
can,
sub in for Jamie today. So
you
I'll be your
can.
voice, Jamie.
Some of them will be close. Some of them will be close to the same thing because our
Yes, of
minds
course.
think
So I'll
somewhat
just read
alike.
the one and I'll let you answer so we don't give her all all of the talking points. So Jamie Clark, we do have 2 at least Jamies in the stream, but Jamie from Sweet Sentiment Stamps says, we look for a lot of diversity, someone who is mixed media, someone who colors, someone who is different from everybody else. We look for uniqueness and personality in their work. So that's awesome. So and I think you might have touched on that too, just getting that broad diversity on your team. And I'll leave it to you to to add on to that what else you're looking for. Sandy.
Yes. So before I get into that, I want to mention that I didn't know how to put the avatar on there, so you guys get to see me the whole time. There'll be no going from the avatar.
I just stopped to get a drink of water.
So anyway, yes. Well, it's very interesting how Jamie and I do it because we each have different likes, different styles and different ways of searching and looking for things. So we can each bring different ideas and different people to the table by looking around and what pops up in our face. And so we're looking for consistency a lot. So people who post all the time, if it pops up all the time in our feed, the same person, then they become front and center for us.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, wow, look at what they did. And it will make us go and look further into what else they have done. So that is very helpful. We do like a lot of diversity and uniqueness, as Jamie said. We don't look for, we're colorists. We love to see everybody's coloring. But if we have 4 people on the design team that all Copic color with us, then we need someone that does something different, something else, watercolor or, mixed media or something else that gives a diverse. I try to be diverse to cover any of that we're missing, but we do look for that a lot. And then professionalism is a big thing. So you want to be conscious about what you're posting when you're not posting cards and things like that. So we're looking for, you just need to be careful or have a separate, maybe a separate page, one that's just you or one that's your crafty name or your crafty, where you have all of your crafty stuff. Because if we are looking for a design team member and we go to your site and we have to go through like a ton of personal whatever just to get to a card, that makes a difference as well, I think.
Okay.
So,
especially since you
photos, of course.
I was gonna say that's especially since you hand pick your team.
Yes.
And so they're not sending you like a portfolio. You're actually they're coming up on your radar somehow and you're seeking maybe more information about what else they've done.
Yes. And you want that out there. I mean, you want people seeing your stuff. You want that out there. You want to know, we want to know that people are looking for your craftiness.
Mm.
So having a different thing is really, really good. And good photos is extremely important. So that is definitely something to look into. They don't have to be professional. I am a professional photographer on the side, so I do kind of look at that stuff.
Said the professional
But
photographer.
I did go to school. I went to
are you
New York
looking for another
Institute of
store?
Photography. I am a professional photographer, but they don't have to be professional. Um, they just have to be of good quality and not blurry, or you have a whole bunch of
Gray.
other stuff that's distracting from your project, things like that. So
That's a
that's
relief
more
to hear.
what I mean when I say good photos.
I wanted to mention also just real quickly, and once a month I take it upon myself literally to block out 2 or 3 hours so that I can go into those Facebook groups, all of the where you can share all of
Okay.
the projects that you
Yes.
make, and that's another avenue where you can say, boy, look at that project, man, the lighting on this is perfect, and so then you can find people that you may have never run across in the industry anyplace else. So I do take that block and go looking. So I'll be in Stamp Addicts and all of the other groups that we share in on a regular basis. We expect our design team member to. I do. I'm sorry. I expect my design team members to go into 4 or 5 other groups and share that because that's where everyone is looking. That's
Yes.
where everybody is. So that's important too. I take a look at it. That's where my avenue is. I go and I look. So yeah, I agree completely.
Awesome. Okay, I'm glad that you both have mentioned this because there have been questions about how to get on your radars. So
Well, there you
if
go.
if somebody loves your product, they love crafting with your product, how do they get their project in front of your eyes? And it sounds like sharing, maybe
Yes.
sharing to a
Mhm.
personal dedicated crafty page, whether
Mhm.
so now is Instagram the place to be doing that? Is
Well,
Facebook the place to be doing that? YouTube?
like like
What are your thoughts?
yeah, like the creative sharing group that I have. That's the place you come and you join there and you see not only the design team inspiration, but if you make something with the TLC Designs product, and you're interested in working for me, that's where you need to be. Post your project, show me. It's a perfect outlet, and not only that, but it's helping inspire the product and the brand. So
Wonderful.
And I wouldn't say it's one platform over the other. We
Okay.
watch all
no,
the
no,
platforms. We
yeah,
Instagram,
that's
Facebook,
why we're up till 3 in
YouTube,
the morning.
you know, Pinterest, yes, all of them. We watch them all. Jamie usually watches a few, like she watches TikTok more than I do, but I might watch Instagram a little more than she does, so we just kind of share that, but we definitely look at all the platforms. So if you're just active on one and we see it all the time, we're going to look and see if we can find you on another platform.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
helpful to be using all the platforms versus just one. And we definitely are active in a lot of groups. And
Mhm.
when you join our design team, we actually give you a list of specific groups that you can use. You don't have to post in all of them, but we want you to post in some of them. Now I post in all of them, but that's just me. I just want, all my stuff out there,
Awesome.
um
Now,
but yeah,
there's a
different
question
groups.
from the live chat. Sorry, did I cut you off, Sandy?
No, 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 you're fine.
Okay. So we have a question from Akoma Crafts. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Are there company hashtags to use? So should they be tagging the company name? Should they be
Absolutely.
using hashtags? Are there some common hashtags for paper crafters, or what's the best way to use tags and hashtags?
Well, it's my experience that there are several, and I keep them on one of those little lists on my iPhone so I can go and just copy and paste every time I do an Instagram post. There's hashtag handmade cards, there's hashtag um, greeting cards, there's several, and they have thousands and thousands of posts and followers. So if you're ever looking for where everybody is as far as hashtags, you can look at the companies that are your favorite companies and go to their Instagram page and maybe see where they're hashtagging. So every one of the Instagram or Facebook posts that we create, we have hashtags so that, like hashtag TLC Designs or TLC Designs Shop is the one that we use to collect and create a group of projects that are shared via hashtag. But
Okay.
yeah, when you look in there, you look at someone else's posts and see what's out there as far as handmade greeting cards. There's even hashtag dies. There's hashtag, certain things, stamping. There's all sorts of them. So that's where I would suggest anybody that was interested in trying to find out which ones to hashtag, that's where I would go.
Oh, okay, this is a great tip from Jamie Clark. She says, yes, hashtags should be 2 to 4 specific to the company. I love how detailed she's getting with her suggestions here. 2 to 4
Yes.
generalized on the subject matter. So that's what Tammy Louise was saying about, card maker, die cutting, stamping, etc., coloring. And 2 to 4 that are craft related that have over 5,000 followers. So I think that's really key. And I love, Jamie, that you mentioned that because there are going to be hashtags. If anyone is not familiar, they are basically links that let you categorize, label what you are posting, and it is clickable. And somebody viewing your post can easily click on those hashtags to bring up other posts that have that same hashtag. So if they're looking for die cutting, if you use hashtag die cutting, then they can click on that and bring up more. And the fact that Jamie's being kind to mention that maybe look at some hashtags that actually have a lot of posts, have a lot of followers and stuff, because those are going to be your popular topics. So you can make up anything as a hashtag. But if it's not one that other people are using as
It's
well,
not
and
beneficial.
other company owners might be clicking on to find, then it may not add quite as much value to your post in terms
Right.
of discoverability.
I'd like to add too that if you're in our group, I've noticed this in many groups, but when you're getting ready to hashtag and you do the hashtag sign and you start with the SW for sweet sentiment, it starts giving you the suggested and telling you what's used most often.
Yes.
So each group will do that. So that can help you to stay with the same hashtag that everyone else is using.
Got
That
it.
makes it a little bit easier to follow the same hashtags.
Nice. Okay.
And Jamie mentioned again too that you should use some that are related to yourself. So people know me as Sandy, but I don't hashtag Sandy. I hashtag Copic Diva because that's the way you're going to find me on Instagram. And I also hashtag Ledoux Designs because that's the name that you find for all the artwork that I do and all the things that I've made have always been under Ledoux Designs. So I choose those 2 hashtags related to me. So if you want to find me, you just do the hashtag Copic Diva or the hashtag Ledoux Designs and you can find me.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. So if you have your own crafty handle or brand that you are trying to build a name around and build your platform around, that's what Sandy is talking about, is just you want to make sure that you're tagging all of your makes with that. And along with that, there's a question from Mary to both of you. When I share to all of those platforms that you're speaking about, should I use a personal watermark, for example, made by Mary Nass, her name, or should she use her crafty handle, Mary's Card Craft? Thoughts on personal name versus a crafty handle?
I think it depends on the purpose that she's designing for. Is it something that she's specifically using someone's brand product, or is it just that she's doing it as a social hobby?
Sandy,
So
your
that's a
thoughts?
really good question. Yeah, that's a really good question because I struggle a little with that myself. So when I create something that's not related to sweet sentiment, then I'm like, do I say created by Sandy Ledoux, or do I
Mhm.
say made by Copic Diva or by Sandy or whatever? So it's a little bit difficult. So I tend to stick with the Ledoux designs. Outside of Sweet Sentiment, you will see me tag Ledoux designs. So I've chosen one name to be seen all the time. So if I'm not doing something for Sweet Sentiment, and that does happen, then I will use the handle of Ledoux Designs. So I think it's helpful. I just choose something that you like, that's close to you, and use that and use it consistently.
Okay.
And then people will start recognizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we are talking about non-DT projects here.
Okay.
Yes.
So because I see Mary's kind of saying before being on a DT. So yeah, it sounds like the recommendation is to use a watermark and get your name out there. Personally, I'm not a DT owner, but I'll just speak from the perspective of being a crafter. I would highly recommend always using a watermark. And I feel like there's two ways to
Yeah.
use watermarks. You can use watermarks as watermarks were intended, meaning over, a portion of it over your project, so as to prevent people from maybe resharing your project without crediting you as the designer of that project. Or you can use a watermark more like an artist signature, where it's meant to be there and seen so people know, but not over top of your project. And I feel like either way, that's a personal preference. I don't know if there may be strong reasons to do one or the other, but either way, I think it, like Sandy was saying, if you want to get noticed, you want to put your name out there. That way, if your post gets reshared, it's reshared with your watermark and with your name
That's
already
true.
built in.
And I think Sandy's right. Stick with one. I think that's very important because then you're more recognizable in everywhere that you post it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just more clear who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was wondering, as you are picking, evaluating potential design team members, is there anything that kind of straight away disqualifies somebody? And I'll bring up Jamie's comment earlier because she spoke to this, but I'd love to hear what both of you think as well. So earlier in the live chat, Jamie did mention that if you see a lot of political opinion posts, and this was when Sandy was talking about maybe having like separating your personal from your crafting posts,
Oh, right, right.
because these anything touching politics can be very polarizing. That was another comment that Jamie made. And so that's one thing that is, a hard pass. So I'm
That's a good
wondering, are there any other things that that are, if not a hard pass, just things that you would not advise for anyone who is trying to get onto a design team?
So go ahead, Sandy. Did you
I
have anything?
wasn't sure if you wanted to throw that at me or
Yeah, I was
Sure.
waiting
We'll
too.
we'll
yeah.
start with we'll start with Sandy, and then we'll go to Tammy. Louise, go ahead, Sandy.
I it's such a touchy thing because I don't want to be negative about anybody's personal situations, but a lot of negativity on your page is,
Mm,
I don't, did you see that? I don't like this. Or did you see
mm,
that? I don't like, I don't like this, or this is, even if it's not craft related, it's negative. And nobody wants to go down and read all that negativity and then say, oh, look at that cute card. Oh, yeah. Now I got to get past all that negativity to get to another cute card. So I think negativity is important. if people are more positive, and it doesn't mean you have to post that today's a great day because I'm so happy because, well, I mean, you don't have to do, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying trying to keep some of that negativity out of the feed that we have to look for when we're searching for you is important. So we know that you're going to have to represent our brand. So you can have your own opinions on everything. That is fine. And they don't have to match mine. They never do.
Yeah.
Even your craftiness doesn't have to match mine. But try to keep it professional and not be negative so much.
That's a great word for
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I mean, we have a theme at Sweet Sentiment, and that is we rise by lifting others. And we try to make all of our platforms appear that way because that's the way we want everyone to know us. We rise by lifting others, so no negativity.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful that you said that, and your other half has echoed those exact same sentiments, and that is, Jamie says, you're representing our brand as our DT members. So if you have a lot of personal posts, it doesn't appear professional. So that's a really good point, because when we as design team members share our DT projects, it's right alongside, it's got your branding on it as our DT sponsors, and it's right alongside everything else that we post. And to your point, Sandy, one, if there's a lot of personal posts that people have to dig through to get to the inspo, that doesn't look good either, regardless of what those personal posts are, right? Whether they're polarizing or not. It's just, you want it to be well curated and easy to find. And but besides that, if you are posting things that might be polarizing or controversial, sitting right next to something that has a sponsor's logo, another company's logo on it, that might not be the look that company is going for, because they just, while you're not saying anything specific to link the two, anyone viewing your feed doesn't necessarily think about it that way, and may draw some conclusions or inferences that really are not intended. So that's a really good tip. Maybe the easiest thing to do is just separate your crafty your crafty makes from anything that you post personally. Tammy Louise, did you want to add to that?
So that all of that information is wonderful. I agree with it completely. There are topics that can be confrontational, and avoiding that in any post. Like, if you're going to apply for a design team and you're doing it via email, don't tell me about how much you love Christ. Keep things separated and stay professional. That's very important. Also, you have to know Facebook and Instagram. That's something that I for whatever reason can't overlook. I have to have that. So that would be something that, I've never done Facebook before. I'm really, really, really would love you to, come and join my design team, but you have to have those basics. So that's all I had to add.
And that actually brings up a question that has been asked a lot, and that is blogs. Are they a thing of the past? Do people need to have a blog to be on a design team?
Well, so I had this whole write-up. I'm going to have my husband put the avatar on, so I can kind of read through my impression of it. Hopefully it's okay if I just jump in here real quick.
Sure.
In my opinion, in the beginning, the industry was still relying on bloggers to link to the stores and drive the retail sales. This made the quantity of bloggers more important, so because you got more converted sales from blogging. So the social media trends have really changed. The blogging is a thing of the past when looking to drive the sales. The current purpose of my design team is more diverse right now, like I explained really early in the conversation, which I don't think was the right spot to do it, but You have to follow the trend. You have to know where people are going to look at projects, and you have to, as the store owner, follow along with where the trend is going. Um, I look right now for design team members that are specializing in specific platforms, social media platforms. Uh, Most of them have chosen one, maybe two specific places to grow their audiences. But the um, what was I going to say? I'm so sorry. I just drew a complete blank. Crafters are still looking for products somewhere, and it's our job to kind of find where. And I think that the blogging is still important because the SEO can be done through blogging. So that's why I kind of retained 2 or 3 different design team members that do definitely blog, but it is not driving sales right now for me, from my analytics, from what I look at in my current stores. Right now, Pinterest and Instagram is where the sales are coming from. So that's where I'm going to show the design team work.
Okay, wonderful. Sandy, what about you? Blogs, yes, required? No, not required?
So, so we don't require blogs, but I would not dismiss a blog. If that is the way that you like to do your advertising, that would not turn us off as choosing you for a design team. I do think that the older generation generally does a little bit more on the blogging still, and there are some design teams that require blogging. Um, I won't say the name of the company, but I have a company that's dear to my heart, and I was on their design team, and I would have stayed forever. I love their work, I love their stuff, but they wanted me to blog. And I did blogging for a company that I did design team for. I even ran their blog and everything before Sweet Sentiment. And I didn't mind doing the blogging, but now, I mean, no one ever came to my blog. Like I was doing all this work and no one was
Yeah.
coming to it. So to me, it felt like a waste, and I just didn't want to blog. Now, could I have gotten more blog followers if I would have blogged for this company? Probably, but it was not my thing. Not everybody likes to do certain, platforms. So what you have to do is find a design team that does the platforms that you enjoy to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm no longer on that design team. We left not with any hard feelings. No one was upset. It's just that they required it and I couldn't do it. So um, you have to choose what works for you. But I think all platforms have some bit, even some little bit of benefit to them, no matter what platform it is.
Awesome. Yeah, I in the past have speculated, not having had the opportunity to talk to DT owners firsthand like I am today, but I speculated that blogs are great for companies, and I don't foresee companies getting rid of blogs because it's right there on their website where their products are. So it's a quick click to get right to their products. But on a personal level, to Jamie's point, if you do already have a blog and you enjoy it, like you were saying, Sandy, and you do what works for you. If you're making it work, it's and you enjoy it, it's something that you should continue to do. And Tammy Louise was remarking on this as well. The thing with blogs is that they are they show up a lot more in these days. Things are changing, but search engines historically have returned results that are more web-based than things that are more ephemeral like Instagram is, which comes and goes quickly. It's for that instant gratification, and in a 24-hour period what you posted is kind of old news.
Yeah.
Whereas blogs do tend to, and maybe this will change with more time, but they do tend to have legs and tend to come up in search engines more. That being said, I'm not a huge blogger. I keep one to have one, and for that reason, to be in that space and get whatever reach I can get out of it. But I love Sandy's comment that find the team that's doing what you do and what you enjoy to do. And, there's a good fit for you out there. And so find that. On a similar note, though, if the perception, whether it's true or not, if the perception is that blogs are a bit of a thing of the past or maybe fading in importance, are videos, reels, shorts, are those the new thing? Do we all need to know how to do that to be on design teams? What are your thoughts on that? Let's throw it to Tammy Louise first, if you
Oh,
want.
sure. So you're my reel and shorts girl. So as I'm learning, I'm busy on the store, 3 years, not very much in the scope of things, but I've learned that a lot of my design team members don't have the experience in it, but they know the value of it. So they have come to me and said, I'm going to try this. Some of them are still, trying to do videos that they have to edit and things like that. The shorts and reels is moving and trending a lot more this year than it was even last year. So having someone for my store, having someone like you that knows and understands the process of creating them and getting the brand out in that format is really, really important to my store, because even my next design team member I might add to the YouTube group that you're in currently, it's something that's moving up. I can see that it's moving up analytically. And also I'm, in communication with 4, 5, 6 other store owners, and we're all seeing the same trend. I think my earbuds are about to lose. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Something came in on Facebook and it bummed in my ear. I was hoping it was a battery. But like I was saying, I have discussions with different store owners all the time, and we're all seeing the trend moving into the short stories because it is a quick fix on card making. I mean, you're the girl that kind of shows all the product, and then your hands come in and they put the screen flashes kind of thing. You're awesome at that. And I think people are really looking for that instant gratification right now. They're on the run, they're hitting the grocery store, and they're like, oh, look at that card, it's beautiful. And they're like, oh, what store was that? And they're going to look and they're going to say, oh, I got to do that. So yes, I think those two different video shorts and what was the other one called? I'm having the COVID moment, but those are important right now.
Essentially the same, but Reels is what Instagram
Reels.
calls it, and Shorts on YouTube. And I see a comment here from Jamie that I'll put up. She says that whether or not it's required, no, but you need to have a good eye for what's going on out there. Still photos still work beautifully. TikTok videos work wonderfully if they are beautiful.
Never done that. Yeah.
So depends on what works for your style. And if it becomes work, you're less likely to enjoy it and thus not giving it your whole heart. What are your thoughts, Sandy, on whether or not YouTube, whether long format or short format videos, is that where things are headed? Should folks who are hoping to get onto a design team brush up on some of those skills?
So I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. And my husband loves to scan YouTube while I'm crafting, so I see a lot of YouTube. We also post our Facebook stuff onto YouTube. We do not require YouTube or specific short clips or anything, but if you want us to notice you, you might want to have some of that stuff going on, because that's a thing of today. I mean, so many people are doing it. I don't use TikTok, really. I don't understand it, or do I know how to use it? I'm trying to learn, but it's a learning process. Jamie is quick and fast on TikTok, and she is going to train me, but they're cool. I like to see them. When she does them, they're great. They're a quick, easy, fast way to see the product, and a lot of people like that. If you don't catch them in the first couple of seconds, they're gone. some people like to watch YouTube videos and they'll watch the whole thing, like
Mhm.
me. But we don't require those specific things because a picture and a short, quick write up can get the same effect. Something you
Okay.
made, something you created, and something you designed will get the same effect. It will still make the product noticed, it will still be important. And so my focus would be a little bit more on making sure that you can take good pictures and that you're crafting outside the box, and then use the platform that you like. Work with the
Okay.
platform. Learn if you want to learn it, learn it. Learn it. It can only help you. It can't hurt you. So that's kind of what I think.
I
Okay.
completely agree with that. I did want to mention, Lynn, I don't know whether or not interactive products are sold at Sandy's store, but interactive products really, that's something like you twist a dial or you make the card move in some way, shape, or form. I think that having the videos, whether or not they're shorts or the entire YouTube video, it's not a requirement from a design team member, but it gives you more of an impact for the interactive product that I have. So,
Yeah, I mean, that definitely benefits in video format so that you can really appreciate the full effect
mm,
of the design, which might be hard to convey in a still photo.
picture, yeah.
So, okay, that makes sense. And so just to summarize, it sounds like, focus on taking beautiful photos, focus on the quality of your crafting, and getting used to sharing consistently and posting consistently,
Mm-hmm.
tagging, whether that's at tagging or hashtagging the companies that you're trying to get your projects in front of. Those all sound like ways to hit your radar, which I think is important for people to try to understand, especially if you don't do open calls.
Absolutely.
Because how else does somebody get get onto a team
Right.
similar to yours that is handpicked? And so sharing in your fan groups as well, I forgot to mention that was another thing that you both shared. So, sharing, making beautiful works, photographing them beautifully, tagging and hashtagging.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd like to add something too, that we do handpick our design team, but that does not mean that you cannot contact us and tell us you're
oh,
interested.
yay.
I
Thank you
It
for
doesn't
absolutely
mean,
saying
I
agree
mean,
with
that.
you could
that.
get on, I mean, you could absolutely, I won't tell you the name of the person, but we do currently have someone on our design team that told us, I want to be on your design team. What do I have to do? And we told them and they did it. And now they're on our design team.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
if you
Open
really
door
want it,
policy.
Yeah.
yeah, you have to tell us. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we don't know. And especially if you're not sure what to do, if you ask, we can help you. That's
Yay.
what we're
We're
here
really
for.
not
But
as
I love,
intimidating as you might think. I mean,
we're
we're
just
just
normal
crafters with
people.
some other hats. Contact us. Let us know. Yeah, absolutely right, Sandy. I agree.
Yay. I am so
And
glad to
I
hear you.
love
Go ahead.
I love Jamie's comment, and I want to make sure this doesn't go by. This is a hobby to you, but it is our livelihood. So please make sure that your work in whatever format is the best work and fun so that all of that shines through. I just think that's probably the best statement I've heard ever.
Yeah, that's
I mean, it's
wonderful.
so important.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Wonderful.
And be open to improving your skills. I mean, we all learn every single day. We're not any different than anyone else. Maybe, we could use a little help here or a little help there. Ask us. We have design team coordinators that'll say, I'm happy to show you how to expose your photo better. Or, we're here to teach too. So learn with us. And that's kind of what
Mhm.
TLC Designs is, to live creatively. Well, let's live creatively together and, go on the journey. Yeah, absolutely. Contact us. Let us know that you're interested.
Awesome. I am so glad to hear both of you say that because Danny Bindle and I run a new Facebook group called Design Team 101, and it's just for us crafters to talk about all the behind the scene things. And this is a question that came up, and not having had this conversation with you in advance, one of the things I did say was, do all the things to try to get seen, but just ask them also, because they may or may not be looking, and they may be able to tell you, what they are looking for if they are. So it's wonderful to hear you both say that you are open to being
Yeah,
contacted privately, maybe a DM or something like that. And so that's really awesome that you're so open to that. And by the same stretch, I guess, if somebody maybe applies, if you do, because I know Tammy Louise, you used to have open calls. If somebody applies and they don't hear back or they aren't selected, is it okay for them to ask you why they didn't get picked?
well, personally, I've never experienced a design team call. Even my first one, I had 380 applicants, and I needed 10 to 12 positions. So it's a very complicated process, but none of them did not hear back from me. So they all get noticed, yes or no. And in that email or however we're contacting each other, I do explain in a very professional manner, a non-offensive manner, of course, that what we're looking for is maybe a little bit more experience with photography. Our audience is looking for a different style, or I'm looking for a different style of artist. Sandy mentioned earlier, she might get 3 or 4 of one type and there's no specialty, something like maybe it's I've lost the word again, but altered art or mixed media. Maybe they're specifically looking for that one type, and that's why you weren't able to make the team. I let them know. I don't go into specifics with them because that can become offensive, but I think if I were applying for a design team position, I would like to know, where are my skills that need to be improved and what are they? Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty frank of a person to begin with. I do it in a very polite and professional manner, of course, but I would want to know. So I think it's important that as a store owner that I share that with them. And they all hear back from me. So none of them are sitting around going, I wonder who she picked.
Right.
Who got chosen and why. Yeah.
Awesome. And I see that Jamie has said, if we turn you down, it's not a forever no. It's just a no for right now. And I think that speaks to something, Sandy, you said in my very first part of this live stream when you were in the live chat, which is that if you apply and you maybe don't get a spot, don't be discouraged by that and keep applying, because it's not, and you even said in this stream earlier, it may not have anything to do with the quality of work that you are creating, and just more to do with what you're looking for and what your collective team as a whole can represent. And so it may very well be the case that there are a lot of other alcohol marker colorists on your team already. And what you're really looking for is to branch out and hit a different audience, like the watercoloring community or mixed media community. So if you apply and you're already kind of making beautiful projects, well presented, well photographed, and all of that good stuff, but it's just not going to meet the needs of the team at the moment. And that's not to say that those needs won't change over time, but don't let that be a sign or any sort of indication of the quality of work that you're doing, and don't let that stop you from continuing to apply. So
Right.
is that fair to say?
Yeah, when I first
Yes.
started in card making, I applied for this team. It was the most adorable teddy bear, and that's all she drew was this teddy bear. And I tried 3 times to get on her team. Like I said, I'm just a crafter like everyone else that has a little bit of inspiration and experience in the other areas that it takes to run a store. But yeah, I tried and got denied 3 times. I did finally get on their team, so there is always hope, but don't give up. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. So let me go ahead.
I did
Go ahead.
I did the same thing. I've applied to teams and not gotten on them as well. I did applied to one twice, didn't get it on in either time, and I've never gotten on it. I just moved on to something else I liked as much.
Yeah, there's somebody out there.
It just
It's hard to
happens.
find other
It
places.
happens. Yeah.
Never just, I mean, Jamie said it. I say it all the time. Never give up, never surrender. I say that all the time to everybody. Never on your projects, on your coloring, on your stuff. Never give up, never surrender. Just learn and move forward
every day. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, let's move along now to the next topic that we have. And so one of the things that has come up before, it's been mentioned a lot, is that DT work has changed a lot over the years. And 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it was just you make a project, you blog it, maybe you post it in one spot, and then you can look ahead to the next project. These days, it seems like more is expected from designers. And you've already touched on a few things already here, but I just wanted to kind of recap. Outside of making and creating the projects using your products, what responsibilities do you expect from your team? How about Sandy? How about you start us on this one?
Okay, that's great. I'm really glad you said that, because I want to start by saying that we require easy, simple stuff. But what I'm going to tell you is it doesn't matter how easy and simple it is. I want to start by saying you are going to feel overwhelmed and confused and lost when you first join the team. Again, this is where never give up, never surrender comes in. Just ask. I am confused every time I join a new design team. Where do I sign my name? Where do I say I'm going to post? Where do I post my pictures? Just take a deep breath, because you will feel that way almost guaranteed every single time. So now that I have said that part, I will move into
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it, because it sometimes feels, I'm sorry, I just have to say this, because sometimes it feels like we should know exactly what we're doing, and it's scary, like if you think you're the only one who doesn't know what's so I'm glad that you said that, because it just sets us at ease a little.
Yep, you will always feel like that. I mean, even the most seasoned crafter will feel lost in the beginning, because it moves like a wheel. We have a plan, we have a way that it rotates, we have a way that it works, and you don't know that way because you're new. So give yourself a break and just ask the questions you need to ask. Sometimes you might have to ask them twice, but just ask, because we want you to be successful. Our success is your success. So if you are successful, we will be successful. So we're going to answer any and all questions. So with that said, what we generally require is there's a calendar. It's on Google Drive. It's very easy to get to. But you have to fill in when you're going to post. You have to choose your times and dates. And once you've done that, you have to do them on those times and dates. That's the really important part. There's also a select a stamp set you want to work with. We allow you to choose which one out of the release, because not everyone is everyone's style. So you get to choose what you want to create with. We ship it to you, you create with it. You have to upload them a certain time, like a week before the release happens, so that we have that picture for advertisement, newsletters, things like that. So it's not just because we're saying, hey, get your stuff done early. We have a reason why we need to have it by a certain date. So there's a contract, you sign the contract, it has all the details in it, tells you how to post, when to post, where to post, all the stuff that you need to do for the requirements. And ours are basically posting on all the platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and then you can go from there. You can go more if you want. It's not required that you do TikTok, but if you do it, great. I mean, we're happy. If you want to do Pinterest, if you want to do, we give you all the alternative ones, but we really require Instagram and Facebook and the typical ones. So that's kind of how it works. It's not complicated. It will take you a month and a half probably to get used to it, to understand, to know. But once you get in the groove, it's fairly easy. I don't know if a lot of people know, but you can schedule posts in a group to go live at a specific time. So you don't have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and say, this is going live. I got to do my post right now. You can set it. And then I'm not sure how many people know this, but when I show, I might post in 15 groups. Mm-hmm. So I make one post that's general that would apply to all those different groups. And then I post it and then I copy it and put it in the next group and post it and put it in the next. It takes me about 10 minutes. It's really not that bad. But I think a lot of people don't do that and they think, oh, I now have to type up this whole new thing, and you don't. Copy it. It's all about getting it out there.
On that though, Sandy,
yes.
Have you ever faced the consequences of Facebook timeout or Facebook jail? Some of us crafters have. We're doing that very thing. You can't, my camera's not on, but I'm raising my hand that I've been put in timeout, not restricted, but I've been put in timeout, meaning they did not allow me to post in groups anymore because I was posting in 15 groups in 10 minutes. Because your tip is a good tip, but it can, not saying this will happen to everybody, but it can put somebody in timeout.
It probably can if you're a regular commenter, like a lot of comment. Like I sometimes get paused when I'm in the craft roulette group. But that's the only thing I've ever had. I've never gotten locked out. I've never gotten Facebook jailed, I guess, if you will. I've never had that before. When I sit down to do my post, it's usually 2 a.m., 1 a.m. And I'm just, nobody else is really on Facebook and I'm setting it scheduled, or my post goes out in the middle of the night and then people see it first thing in the morning. So I haven't had that problem, but if you're in a regular traffic time, it can happen to you. So I would say, set them up, schedule them so they just post like periodically during the day, half hour apart or something.
Yeah. And I think scheduling is great, but you can't schedule to a group that you are not a moderator of. So if we're trying to share to other Facebook groups to help bring some eyeballs to our project, to your company, that are not your specific fan group where we can request that level of permission, you have to do it in real time. But what I'm hearing from you is that space it throughout the day, maybe do it during off hours. And you might be less likely to get, because there's two different things. Facebook jail, if you're properly in jail, means you don't have access to your account for a while, but there is like a softer timeout where you can maybe comment, but you can't post to groups. So yeah. So good advice. So
I also
go ahead.
I also must be a moderator in a lot more groups than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any problems doing that, but I think I have been active for years and years in these groups. So yeah, that's probably the case, and I wouldn't have known that had you not told me. So that's good to know.
Yeah,
knowledge is power.
It's the first, when I join a design team, it's the first thing I ask for is, can I be made a moderator in your fan group? Because the type of schedule that I keep, the type of crafter that I am, I like to work ahead of schedule, but I also like to set it and forget it when when I've completed the project. So, Sandy, I'm glad that you brought up scheduling, because I just assumed that everybody knew that, but like you just said, maybe not everybody does know that you can schedule these things. You can schedule your post on Instagram, you can schedule your posts on Facebook, and just depending on the level of permissions that you have in that group. So, it is the first thing I ask for in every team, because Tammy Louise knows this. It was literally, I think, the first thing I asked you. And it does help to make our lives easier when I know that comes with a level of trust from the company.
We need to know that you're going to do
all
it
of our
right.
All of our DT are moderators, so they can post and not have any schedule and all that kind of stuff, because we want to make it as easy as possible for them to get their word out. So
Yeah.
I have not had that much luck, Sandy. I wish all of my design team members, were someone that is trustworthy and capable of handling the job. I mean, you're giving them permission to your page, so it's kind of important that they know how to word correctly for your brand. I mean, you don't want something out there that doesn't belong out there. So, lucky girl.
it's true. It's true, but we do watch our Facebook very closely. Jamie and I both watch it all the time.
So you would just delete it, or?
Yeah, we would,
Gotcha.
and we have. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So we would definitely do that, and then contact the person and let them know and talk about the situation and why it happened and what we require. So it's a lot of communication. Communication is key. So
it is, absolutely, and being frank and honest with them. This is the issue that came up, and we need to, come up with a compromise and work it out, or it isn't going to work. You'll have to every 3 hours go and post a different project manually. It just isn't going to work. So
yeah. So Tammy Louise, you talked a little bit about how your team has changed over the last 3 years, and that's just a short, 3 years, much less, when you first started on design teams, like you said before. So can you talk a little bit more about how DT work has changed and how
absolutely.
your team has had to adjust, and why?
Absolutely. So 3 years ago, I think blogging was still very popular. So I was looking for 10 to 12 people that knew how to blog and did it efficiently and got the word out. The second year, it became less blogging, more Facebook. And my team didn't need to be as large because the job was still getting done. The ads and the graphics were still there. But there were very few bloggers. Like I said earlier, the SEO is very important. So I do have the 2 full-time permanent design team members that blog for me. So 3 times a month, one of the women is a guest designer. She does blogging only. She does not have an Instagram. But I fell in love with her at CHA years and years and years ago. I'm like, yes, you're going to come work with me. So she blogs as well. So 3 times a month, you're going to see quality product being shown and explained. I require that if you're going to go ahead and blog on my store blog, please give a little bit of a tutorial. So show us what the die cut looks like after you've cut it before you put the project together. It requires a few extra photos, things that take up, are more time consuming than what someone like on my YouTube team is capable of doing. Because look, you're already editing videos, you're already adding pre-information and end information, and you're adding cards to your video, and you're linking to the products in the store. So the requirements for a YouTube member is very different than what my full-time does. I do 3 or 4 projects a month, but I also in my contract indicate that it's a requirement to share your project in at least 5 different groups. And I give them a huge list of groups that I've already talked to the administrators of, and I'm aware that they have no problem sharing. And I also give them not only the name of that group, but they know what the rules are for that group. So I will tell my design team members that when you go in there and you share your product, you are not allowed to link back to my store. You're not allowed to, or you are capable of linking to the store, but they don't want to see any watermarks on the pictures. Things, whatever the rules are, you have to follow the rules. So that is a requirement of the design team members that are willing to sign a contract, and that's important. Know what you want to do, or learn what you don't want to do for the next time, and follow through with it. That's really important. We need to trust you to post when we require the post. Now, we don't voluntarily allow our design team members to pick and choose what days of the month that they're going to be able to design and create on or post on. We assign that. So that's something that Shanna does for me as a design team coordinator. She loads everybody up on the calendar, which is also on Google Drive, and indicates what dates. Now you can pick Tuesdays are my best day. We do ask. We say, you know, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And then she works with them, and you're allowed to do just Saturdays. You're not posting a ton, so there's 3 projects a month that are required, including the release. So you're on Saturday, that's your day. We don't add anybody else to that day. We just go on to the next person that needs a different day. What else was it that she mentioned other than requiring my design team to do a basic post on Facebook, Instagram, and the blog on the 3 full-time? My guest designers get the opportunity to use the new release products, and also a little bit of difference between the 2 companies that you have being shown tonight. I don't differentiate between what's being released. In most cases, if I have a new release, every one of my design team members will get the whole release. Now that didn't happen last term, because I had a larger team and it wasn't monetarily possible. But I think that my store is not going to have new releases every single month. My store is set up with a new release on one month, and then the next month we do a mix and match. So you're going to be able to use the previous month's new release and combine it with something else that's in the store, so that older product gets more use. People see it out there being added to the new release. And then the 3rd month is a spotlight product, which usually is going to be a suite or a bundle that is sold all at once, and you're going to get 6 or 7 different products from the store in that bundle. So I don't have new releases every single month. I don't want the inventory to sit around and not be seen or used by my design team. So I think it's important that my whole design team gets everything that is in the new releases, so they all have what it takes to work with 3 or 4 different products on each of their projects. That's one of my requirements. I think I covered everything that was a little bit different.
Yeah, awesome. So just out of curiosity, because this has come up in part 2, when a design team member posts to a group, and do you expect all of your team members to engage, to go through and like every, because the fan group, you know, there's a lot of posts there, both from design team members as well as from your customer base. So do design team members have a responsibility to like and comment on all of the posts that come through either your Instagram feed or your Facebook fan group?
Good
Sandy.
question.
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
good question.
Go ahead, Tammy
No, go
Louise.
ahead. No, I think that's a great question. I really want to hear.
Okay, Sandy, go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie, I was reading the comments and I missed the question.
Gotcha.
Love it.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no worries.
I got so distracted by all the communication that was going in the feed, and I didn't want to miss any questions that people were asking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I missed the question. I'm
No
sorry.
worries. And I know Jamie's fielding a lot of questions that are directed to Sweet Sentiment, and that's the only reason why I'm not bringing them up on screen. So my question was, because this has come up in previous streams about this topic, as a design team member, is it part of our responsibility to engage and like and comment on as many posts as possible that come through your fan group on Facebook or your Instagram profile? So should we be going in and liking and commenting on all the posts there?
So we don't technically require you to go in and comment on everybody's posts, but we want to see your presence. So it's not like if you miss one, we're going to be like, you forgot to comment on so and so stuff. We're not going to do that. So, but we do ask that you do try to stay up to speed, and we haven't really had any problems with that. So we've never had to make any kind of mandatory rule or whatever. Our people generally are active in our group and they're commenting on each other's stuff. If we do want to bump it up because maybe we see a decline, we have a separate DT group that you join on Facebook, and that's where we start to put out any information like, hey, we've been missing your presence, everybody's presence a little bit. Can we bump it up, kind of thing. And so we'll throw out some of that, but we don't technically require it on every post. We just want to see that you're commenting on people's stuff.
Okay, that's good to hear because some teams do think differently on that.
Wow. So like years and years and years ago, it was a requirement, and I literally don't have the time to babysit design team members, whether or not they're going in there or not. Fortunately, I have several design team members that just automatically do it because they're getting, as soon as anybody puts anything in for say the creative sharing group or something, they're getting that notification, so they get that ping, and they just go in there and say, wow, that's beautiful. So I really never have had any force of it. I don't, it's not something in their contract that I require, but it's certainly appreciated. It just means that those people that are posting in March and they're getting response from the design team member are more apt to go back in April and May and June and post more of their projects. I think it's, just intuitive of that. It just gives you that inspiration. It, makes it easier to, I get responses from this group, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Wonderful.
it has more impact when it feels like it's coming from the heart versus a requirement. That you actually say something every single time. And we want people to feel like I said, I love what you did because I love what you did, not because somebody told me to say it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely does because, that's, like I said, this came up in part 2, and for that reason as well, that when you are being asked to do it as part of a requirement to be on the team, one, we all try to do our best anyways as design team members for you, our sponsors, and but when it's forced like that, it feels insincere. And so we want that, but we want to do it out of like a genuine desire to do it. And sometimes, because I'll speak personally for myself. I try to do it as much as I can, but sometimes I just don't have the time. And I do feel bad when I don't have that time. But if it was a requirement, I would make the time, but it would feel like it's being shallow. You know what I mean? Like where I can't really engage in a way that is sincere.
Not as genuine. Yeah.
Right. So that's sort of, I think, our take on that as my take on that, I'll just say, not to generalize for all design team members, but that's just my take on that, is that I want to be doing these things because I want to help the engagement of your groups, but I want to do it in a way that's sincere because that is my name.
I really liked your project.
Yeah. I mean, I'm using it as me, myself, not as you're the company.
Right,
so,
right.
You know what
Now,
I mean?
I personally go in there every single time anyone posts because I feel gratification knowing that people want to share the things that they've made with my product. I think I'm genuinely going out there and saying, wow, I really appreciate, this project. I think this part of it is fantastic, and I always kind of, I'm detail oriented. So I'm always going to say the shading that you did on her hair is just wonderful, or find something that I truly do like and be genuine with it. But I do it kind of out of selfish reasons, really. I'm just so tickled pink that they're posting their projects in my design team group that I can't not say something. So,
yeah.
And
I love Jamie's comment that sometimes she's just not in the right frame of mind, i.e., not enough coffee in the system.
So true.
Caffeine.
So I love that, and I love that, and I can attest to this. Meg does take time to comment and put a very personal touch to her comments. as you were saying, Tammy Louise, finding like the one or two specific things. And she does this really beautifully in the group that I run. I read all of her comments, whether they're on my post or others, and she's magnificent at this. And that takes time to do. So I definitely appreciate that.
Who is this?
There is a
I missed who it was.
question that came up. Oh, okay, here we go. This one's interesting. So Mary says, I have an important question to ask. Let's say someone filled out an application and then prior to the deadline politely asked to unapply due to a misconception they had. And then there's a follow-up. Would you ever consider them in the future if they applied again? Has that ever happened? Or would you speculate as to how you might react if that did happen?
Well, I personally have had people that applied and got accepted and then contacted me directly and said, this is going on in my life right now. I don't think that I can follow through with the responsibility. They hadn't signed a contract or anything. It's just like that interim. I always have a 2 or 3 week space. The deadline for the call will end on the 10th, and then the new team won't start until the next month. So you do have that space in there where you can change your mind. And I think that that's admirable. Is that the word? Admirable, because at least they know that they're not capable of following through with it, and they are taking the necessity for it on a store side seriously. So I would rather them come to me and say, look, I need to back out.
Yeah. Okay.
Than to try and take it on and be overwhelmed and not capable of following through with the dates that we give them or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually okay if you are accepted or invited and you decline. That's not poor form.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Because when I contact someone back and I am interested in putting them on the team, my first comment, my first sentence is, congratulations. We have, looked at your application. We admire all of your work. We hope that you would be willing to join the team. So absolutely.
Okay.
That's just personal preference. That's just my company. I don't know about anyone else or whether or not they do it that way. But again, I put my foot in their shoes as a design team applicant, which I was there. What would I want to hear? What would I do to the owner of the store? Could I follow through? Maybe someone in my family had a medical emergency or something was going on personally that I needed to back out. I would be the first one to let them know. And I think honesty is best policy. Open door too with the owner.
Okay. Sandy, thoughts, or what do you think on that?
So I think you need to talk to them. I think you need to, it depends on what you mean by misconception, which is the same path that Jamie was going. So do you mean that what they thought they were joining for the design team was not what they thought, and so there was a problem with them versus your company? Or is it more like a personal something that's happening in their life that is causing a problem? Because there's a big difference between that. Between pulling out because you really thought you were getting into something and it's something entirely different, and then there's a difference. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a different way. So it's a little bit hard to answer if I don't really know what you mean by that misconception.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would think in either situation, communication is key. If you signed up for something and you got the contract in it, or you applied for something and you got the contract and you were like, oh man, I got to do like all this stuff and I don't think I can handle it. That's one thing. And I think that I would address that by contacting the company and saying, I would love to do this design team, but there are a few things where I fall short. I don't know how to do blah or blah. And so would you be willing to train me through it? Or maybe we could say, would you be willing to learn? Maybe we can start out slow. We can teach you how to do it. So I don't think it technically, I wouldn't just jump out of it
Okay.
immediately. I would go to them and talk to them. Now, if it's something happened in my life that I don't have time right now or whatever, again, if you communicate that, we've had times before where we've said, how about you start a month later? Or
Right.
if you still
Hmm.
want that position, we can work with you on what it is, because some of our overachievers have projects they can just hold and post for you in the interim while we're waiting to get you up to speed. So I wouldn't necessarily ever say just back out. I would say talk to them and tell them what it is, because if you just say, here you go, we've offered you this design team position, we're super excited to have you, and you go, yeah, I changed my mind. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're probably not going to ask you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you say, I have these concerns, we can talk through them, and you may potentially still be able to have that position that you really wanted. So,
Yeah, how long is the emergency going to be? Do you
what
really
I
want to
think.
be on the team, or did you misconceive something that was in the call? I guess I missed the word misconceived.
Yeah.
Didn't understand what the call contained, or
Right.
something like that. So yeah, I agree completely. Communication.
Awesome. And that's something else that's come up before too is, before somebody applies, are you open to them asking clarifying questions? For example, maybe beyond it, how many projects, maybe things like, how far in advance do we get product before we're expected, to have a project to share? Like, are you open to some of those questions before somebody applies? Just so that in the past, I've asked that of open DT calls, just so that I don't want to waste, a store owner's time reviewing my application if I can't commit to their requirements. And so I've asked
And
DT sponsors and owners, like, you know, a question or two that I didn't already see in their open call. And
was
that's
it received well, or
it's always been received
just
well.
personally? Okay.
Well, and I've also asked, this might just be me because I don't mind asking questions, but if if I don't see an open call that specifically mentions video, which is what I like to create, and I like to try to grow my YouTube channel. So I'll even ask, do you have a video team? Is that something you're interested in as a DT member on your team? And would the requirements be the same? Because Tammy Louise, you've talked about this. Video, blogging, they're all separate things. They all
They
take a
are.
different time and talent. And somebody might see a 10-minute video, but it took hours to
Yeah.
produce that.
And
So
unless you do that, you don't know that either. I mean,
right. And when I don't see video on a DT call, I don't like to assume what they do and don't know. So I just like to ask, are the
mhm.
requirements the same or not? So that's just an example for you in terms of, are you open to questions about your design team
Yes,
from folks who are
yes.
interested?
Ask. Yeah. We don't know what's on your mind unless you tell us. But we want you to enjoy doing what you do for us, so that you grow, your audience grows. Every time that happens, our audience grows. Yes. Ask the questions. I have an open door, so I've never turned anyone away. There are some questions that should not be asked of anyone that I have had, and we discussed that the other day. It's like, um, thank you for liking my store and the products that it, and you got to kind of field it, but I ask me, I'm open. So I think that's important too, because when I was a design team member, there was a store that, how do I say this nicely, not open doored and flexible or willing. So they are out there, but I don't agree with it, so I do things my way. And that's why I own a store.
And I see Jamie did answer OMG. Yes, ask all the questions. So
I like Jamie and Sandy. I like them.
awesome. And I do see there's a great conversation being had in the live chat. And I'm going to bring up that topic during open Q&A just so that we can move on to our next planned topic. So I see you.
So
I'm not ignoring you.
Let me just add one more thing to the asking all the
Yeah.
questions. Actually, two, but I'll make them quick. So the first thing is kind of try to approach it like a job interview. If you go to a job interview and they don't specifically tell you the details about your job, you're going to ask, right? Because you want, you want to know, what are my hours? What are you know?
Yeah.
So kind of approach it like that. Ask the questions. If you join our team and you don't ask any questions, we're concerned for you. Like, we're going to ask you, do you have questions? You don't have any questions. No questions? We'll keep checking because people should ask questions. And we're going to be concerned if we don't hear from you. We're going to be like, are they going to be able to post on time? Are they going to know what they're doing? Are they going to? So we'll keep asking you questions. So ask the questions, all of them and any of them.
Good. Wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so I want to move us on to our next topic. And so now this is one that I did ask in part 2 as well. So just for some continuity and to get your side of it. So if we set aside the fact that many craft companies like yours are small businesses that are run by just a few people, and you're doing everything, and you may not have a huge operating budget. Not every company is a, Simon Says or, Spellbinders. That setting that aside, some companies do pay their design team in addition to giving them free product. And should this be the standard? And also, if you are a crafter and you actually want to try to earn money from this hobby, how might one go about that? So I'll go ahead and flip us over. Sandy, do you wanna get us started on that topic?
I knew you were going to throw that to me. And I'm okay with that, but so there's different ways to look at that. Okay, so I've been on both sides. I've always wanted to earn money doing what I love and doing my artwork. Jamie believed in me, and that's how I got where I am today. I didn't have the confidence on my own. She believed in me. She gave me the chance, and I'm thankful for that. There are some ways to earn money. Affiliate links are really great. You can earn money via affiliate links, but as far as product and payment, the product is a monetary value. When we give the product away, that is from the financial perspective of the company, that is a financial impact. And I can say that our financial impact for our design team is high for the size of business we are. But they're important to us, and so therefore we keep it that way. I think if you went to a very large company, you might anticipate having some other kind of monetary value as well. But for a small company, it's just not there. My husband volunteers as our financial person because we can't pay him. Right. So
well, mine is streaming for me.
Little parts here and there, but we can't pay him, so we so we pay him in candy bars. But I just think it depends on the company. I think if it's a really large company and they're very well established and they've been around a really long time, they may have the ability to pay a financial. But for a small company, it's a lot of an intake just to give away the free product, which is challenging in itself. But we also offer, to make it a little better, is we offer a DT discount. So you can purchase other products for a discounted rate, which will help you be able to use more of our products and stuff. If you're brand new and you just signed up and you don't own anything, and then you get a new release, you really don't have a whole lot to show other than that. So there is a DT discount for everyone that starts, which is also a monetary value expense for our company. So that's, I don't know. I
No,
mean,
that's
Jamie and I don't even get paid, so
yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
we're
To be
not there yet.
clear, Cindy and I.
I'm so happy that you're doing this with
Yeah.
companies that are as young as yours and mine, Lynn, because there is a huge difference with income and expense. So yeah, I agree. There are some compensations that I am able to provide when what's asked of the design team member is completely outside of the original contract. Um, Also, things like extra videos. You're going to do 2 or 4 or whatever, and then you're going to add the shorts with the videos. Things like that. They are compensation, and I do agree that product is definitely impactful compensation for small stores. Um, but there's also being on both sides as well. When I designed my cards, I always put so much financial, not just time. It's not just the time that's spent making the card, but it's the financial product. So the stores that I worked for didn't offer card stock, so I had to put money into card stock. They
Mhm.
weren't selling tape runners, so I had, you know, an entire craft room full of things that were required to have glue guns and all of the tools and the things that you need to get the little shavings out of your things like that. They're costly. Um, and I think that if a design team member has, as you know, created projects that are outstanding and something that I'm truly looking for graphic, or even there's been stores that have asked me for, do you have any samples that you can send me? I think it's important that I can go to my design team and offer them compensation for the product or project. Can you send me your projects? I'll pay you for them at what I think is fair amount, and we discuss that. And then I also pay for postage. Um, so I think that you can be compensated through my store in a few different ways. Also, on top of the product that I send, that is actual physical product, I open up the entire digital store to the design team members. So
Yeah.
you're talking, in addition to all of the illustrations that you have to stamp in order to create with, you're getting how many, Lynn? I don't know, 100, 200 digital stamp images. So that is another compensation that a design team member would get. I don't know if this question included how they can financially get compensated off the team, but I did have a small list that I wanted to share.
Sure.
Compensation from retailing their products. When I first started, I went to craft sales. My husband remembers setting up for an hour, selling for 6 hours, and breakdown of the stall and all of that stuff. You can make money doing that, or you can. I had my cards in boutiques that were local stores. Floral shops and things like that. I would specifically make cards that went with the floral design, and she bought them, and then it was retailed that way. So you can get compensated in that way. Affiliate work, which I don't know if everyone is familiar with affiliation, but that's when Lynn posts, a YouTube video, and she puts a link to my store, and it follows her, and she gets compensated affiliate wise. And for my store, I only offer that to people that I ask to be an affiliate. I know a lot of stores that anyone can join their affiliate. So the programs are a little bit different for each and every small store. Compensation from YouTube. or other platforms that pay when their audiences are built up, or the required number of hours. I think YouTube, right, Lynn, has
Mhm,
you have to reach that goal of how many hours were watched. I don't
mhm,
know if it's in a 30-day period or something. So you can make money if you decide to go a social media route. Compensation with virtual online classes. I know a lot of creative summits that people are making money creating cards or having that 30-minute project make. They're making money off of that. They're getting paid to do that and to teach. You could also even say there's a Hobby Lobby or a what is that other hobby store, Michael's. You can go in there and teach classes as well.
oh,
You
yeah,
you know, just like that. You could actually work for a company that um, goes into people's homes, and you could be one of those demonstrators. There's a whole lot of different ways to be compensated in this particular industry. You could get magazine commissions too. I wanted to bring that
mhm,
up because when I first worked for design teams, I did get magazine commissions, and I was on their schedule for once a quarter to be, someone that they relied on to do the entire walk out tutorial kind of thing in their magazine. So there's a lot of different ways. But TLC Designs does compensate outside of product, and there are, like I said, those ways that I do it. So
yeah. That's really great, and I love that you mentioned so many different avenues and ones that I would never have considered myself. When it comes to selling cards with your products, though, my understanding, as this did come up in part two, is that every company has an angel policy. Is
mhm,
that how it's referred?
mhm.
So um, does that is what people should be looking for, right? If they do plan to
Yeah.
sell anything
Terms
with
of
your
use is very important. The TOU is very important as well. Follow what our terms of use are. So I have terms of use when someone purchases and automatic downloads a digital product from my store. The terms of use are this and this and this, and you spell it out. You say, you're not allowed to sell this over 500 images say you're going to use that digital image and put it on a cup or a t-shirt or something like that. It's just like licensing. It's basically giving them the license to produce this certain amount of products. Nothing can be changed. You can't add my products to something else and claim that it's your own. Things like that. It's all angel and terms of use policies. Yeah.
okay, awesome. So wonderful. Glad we were able to touch on that one, just to
Mhm,
bring some continuity throughout these series, because that did come up earlier.
mhm,
And speaking of, I'm gonna move us on to the next topic. So on previous talks, we've had some designers share experiences that were maybe less than ideal for them. So, what would be your advice to a design team member who finds themselves unhappy with either maybe a specific event or in general with the team that they are on? So, thoughts on that? I'll throw it to Tammy Louise first, since I picked on Sandy first the last time.
Sure. So my goal is the less drama and chaos, the better. Um, I want to know if you have issues that you are unhappy with. My goal is to always compromise and make adjustments when that's possible. But this industry can handle a few stray hairs. If there's something that you cannot come together on, then it might be time for you to look for a team that doesn't allow that sort of thing. So this is a wide range kind of question.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
this
it's
could
a big
be minimal. This could be something very small, and the store could come back and say, "That's not a problem. Let me work that out."
Mhm.
But it could be something very large too. And sometimes when there is no middle ground, there's nothing to work with, and you can't compromise to uh, keep the drama and the chaos out of the job. It is a job. This is an employer employee sort of thing. just like anywhere else. If you work at McDonald's and your boss is the greatest boss and he's expecting things that you're not happy with, and when you tell him he says tough, then it's time to move on. This industry can handle that. Find a store that works for you, and we'll find design team members that work for us.
Okay, so it sounded like communication.
Hmm.
Just don't be afraid to bring it
No,
up to you. Okay.
yeah.
Sandy, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to go back to communication again. It is
Hmm.
key. So it's vitally important. But with that is the approach that you take. If you're angry about something or you're upset, calm down before you approach it. It will come across so much easier and
Yeah.
it'll go so much more smooth, and you'll be level-headed and more straightforward with what's going on. One thing I will say is don't go to other people and talk about
Oh, gossip. Yeah. No.
don't go to other
No.
people, don't go to other
Do
companies, don't do
not
any of that
discuss it
kind
in
of
the
stuff.
design team
Just
group.
take a
Yeah.
deep breath, calm
Take the
down,
emotions out.
and
Emotions
then
out.
talk to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just a misunderstanding or miscommunication or something that I see a different way. I mean, we can watch the same movie and have a different perception of what happened in it, so
Mhm.
it happens all the time. So just talking about it, most of the time it's going to be oh, wow, I didn't, okay, let's work through whatever the issue is and we can move forward. It's usually a very simple fix. But once you start bringing in other people and other things and other
Mhm.
distractions, then it just becomes hurtful in some way to some of the party and makes it end unhappily, and we don't want any of that anywhere in our crafty fun world. So
And
just talk, ask questions. We actually have a step of communication level in our contract. So first
ooh,
you go to your design team coordinator. If you don't get an answer from them or something you don't like, then you
Okay.
can move
Yeah.
on to Jamie and I. And it just kind of gives you a chance to just vent it off of the design team coordinator. And if you two together can't come up with a solution, then come to us and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We haven't had any problems with that at all. So
I
yeah,
have.
great. Yes, but we haven't had any of that. We just, they go to the design team coordinator and either she can resolve it or she comes to us or we go to them. I mean, we just all talk. I mean,
I
it's
love
important.
the I love the
So
not gossip. Don't gossip in the design team. It's not beneficial for anyone there. It's not beneficial for the company, and that sort of thing can follow you. If you're a serious design team member that wants to be on other teams, that is the sort of reputation, things that need to stay out of this industry. Those are things that can follow you to other stores. So be very careful how you handle it to keep the emotions
Yeah.
out.
mhm.
And I love this comment from Tana Lohaus. She says there are always three sides to every story. And that's absolutely true because, as Sandy was saying, it just might be a disconnect that you might be reading a situation one way, but that's not how it was intended. And
Right.
a lot of communications, these days can happen not us talking real time, but over texting or messaging or
Mhm.
emails or whatever. And you lose a lot of context behind how that statement or whatever was put out there from the person. And so everybody brings their own experiences to how they perceive something. And, that might not be necessarily how it was meant to be taken. And
Right.
so if you find yourself in a situation, it sounds like that maybe something has happened, you're unhappy, whether it's something big or small, know who to bring that to first. And it sounds like there are some, um, there might be some protocols to follow where you can maybe get a quicker answer, if you kind of follow, who is your first point of contact, because they're there to kind of field those questions.
I'm gonna steal that from Sandy and add that to my contract. Be like, this is I am. I'm gonna have a different section. This is, the protocols for handling any sort of drama or measurements of disapproval or disdain or something that's going on. This is how you handle. Our expectations are you contact Shanna
Yeah.
first, and then
Yeah.
contact Tammy. Yeah,
I mean, it
And
helps them know where to
I
go.
see
I
that.
mean,
Yeah, that's
if you have a
important.
problem and you don't know who to talk to, and then you go to the boss, then it's like, oh,
Oops.
so and so went to the boss.
Right.
yeah, I think in any situation on any team that you're on, it's important to kind of know that, right? Know who your first point of contact is because
Mhm.
um they are there for a reason and every team is different. Not every team has a DT lead or DT coordinator. I've been on teams where I just work directly with the store owner. And so that does you just need to
Make a
know
difference. Yeah.
the team and just be okay with having that conversation. It might be something that, like Sandy said, is very easy to address or clear up. Um
I've been
and
on design
And do it
teams in the
verbally.
past. Yeah, I've
yeah.
been on design teams in the past where personalities don't mesh, they clash. Like
Mhm.
the design team coordinator was the last person I wanted to go to with anything because we clashed, and that can be complicated sometimes. But go to the owner instead. I think it's important that it's in your contract. I'm gonna have to add that.
Yeah, so I love that you're both open to having that conversation because and also I really like that both of you did also say that maybe it's something that you're willing to compromise on too, because I feel like sometimes when I'm in a situation, I don't know how much flexibility there is. So I don't know if I'm the only one having the problem, and so I don't necessarily expect you to have to change to meet whatever needs I have.
Well,
And so I don't always feel like, maybe I don't always feel like that's a conversation that is fair to have with you. And
Absolutely.
so that's why I put the
well,
question out there.
remember, it's important for you to remember that we are business owners. We don't know everything. I
Mhm.
mean, just because we own a business doesn't mean we know everything. Sometimes
We're
we don't
learning every
know,
day.
or we haven't considered what you're concerned about. We hadn't even thought of it or considered it. So sometimes if you bring it to us, it might be a change we make all the way around. If it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, something important, something we hadn't thought of. I mean, we're not perfect and we're not
Mhm.
brilliant, exceptionally better than anyone else. So bringing those type of things to us really makes everybody grow.
Yeah.
And it's beneficial
So
to us just as much as it is to you. I mean, frankly, unless it comes up, we might not have a paragraph in our contract under contracts that say this is what you need to do. So yeah, we're learning every single day. I do. I know I do. I shouldn't generalize that, but I learn every day. Every single day is a learning experience, and that's how you grow.
Yeah. And I
and I
love
will
this.
say, I mean, I'm sorry. I feel it's extremely important that I touch on the text versus when I say communication, I mean talk to me.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
text me.
Like on a
When
Okay.
you're
phone.
upset, don't text.
Yeah.
You can text and say,
That's true.
"Hey, do you have a few minutes we can talk?" But texting, you cannot know what type of emotional inflection is in that text. And
Yeah.
you're never going to know that unless you actually talk to somebody. I mean, I, in my
The
real
lack of
life,
emotion. Yeah, the
when
lack.
my husband texts me and I get upset about it, I say, "I'm not texting anymore. You need to call me." Because
It's the
I
lack of
don't know if he
emotion.
means like he's mad or he's just being joking, or if he's, and sometimes he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean anything by that," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know that because that's not the way it read to me." And that happens in everything. I threw my husband under the bus, but you know what I mean. So if you have a concern,
Just a
I
hypothetical.
would
A
just simply
hypothetical.
say,
Sorry,
yeah,
Debbie.
I would just say,
Yeah.
can we have a conversation and talk
Mhm.
to me as a person? Don't Texting is just, I mean, it's a great thing to have. I didn't have it when I was a kid. It's awesome. but it does not tell you any inflection
Mhm.
of what that person is going through or what they're trying to express to you through their voice. And sometimes it can be taken as though you are angry or mad or mean and your
Emotions.
feelings are
Yep.
hurt. And
Yep.
you talk and then you go, oh, well,
I
I thought you
didn't
were
mean.
upset. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, so when I say communication, I mean talk to me.
Okay. That's awesome that
I just think it's easier.
I think that's wonderful that you're open to that as well, because I feel like, a lot of times as a design team member, I know how busy owners are, and I know, especially when it's a small business and you do everything yourself,
Thank God
that,
you understand.
I just don't always want to come to you with all of my questions, but I'm hearing over
Oh,
and over a very consistent theme from both of you that communication is very important, big or small. Know who and how to ask and how to present those, whether they're concerns or questions, but to ask your questions, whether it's
right.
about how to do their job as a DT member, or if it's a larger thing about an actual concern.
So Lynn,
So
I appreciate that because um, we are busy. I just got two dings from other design team members that needed something, and I will get back with them as soon as humanly possible. And I appreciate the design team members that do understand that we're busy, but I'd rather be busy and get to all the questions than to not be busy at all. So yeah, with me at least, uh, I will get to everyone and I'll do it as soon as possible. And I want design team members to know that and understand it and ask me the questions.
awesome. That's wonderful, and love how open, and of course, you ladies are wonderful for being so open to have the conversation. So I knew that you both have open door policies and very,
So
very,
cute.
very open to having any kind of communication.
Sandy's
But
awesome. Really good.
it sounds like to me, just to kind of summarize the takeaway here, and we've heard this before in both part one and part two, that if you are unhappy with something, that something has upset you, whether it's big or small, um, be professional about how you handle that, and you know give the DT owner or the person that you are having a conflict with the opportunity to make it right, to have that
Mhm.
discussion, because you might have a perception of how something went down that wasn't actually how it was intended to
Exactly.
be presented to you. And even if that's not the case, to Sandy's point, it may be something that they are unaware of that's happening. And something that you bring up could actually benefit everybody else on the team if, that makes sense for the team. Or, as Tammy Louise said, maybe there's something that can be a compromise with you individually if you have a certain situation that might need some extra consideration. So, at the end of the day, it sounds like, be professional and thoughtful about how you address it. Don't let it just bubble up and,
Yeah. Festering's not
kind of
good.
hold on to that. And I think this has been said. I think Marla put it well in the very first design team part one series, that if you're unhappy and things end up where you do have to kind of part ways, don't go bad mouthing. This has come up in the live chat as well, and Sandy touched on this a little bit too. Don't go in a fit of like anger the moment it happens and just kind of broadcast it out to the whole world. Take a beat, let the emotions pass, handle it personally. But even if it's not handled to your satisfaction, don't um, don't put names out there. Don't kind of discuss it in any sort of specifics, because, and Tammy Louise, you said this, if you want to be on design teams, you might want to be careful about what you say, because and I did see this in the live chat as well. a lot of owners know each other, and so you don't want to present yourself as having that trait of speaking badly, naming company names. You're allowed to feel the things that you feel, but if you want to communicate that, communicate it responsibly and respectfully to everybody involved, because there are multiple sides to a story. And so just bear that in mind. And I'm sure company and owners and sponsors of DTs would never name you personally in any sort of conflict that may have arisen. So I think just be careful, especially if you're going to put something out there publicly, think twice. Think
Yeah.
twice about what you say, and just be professional about it, especially if you want to have like a long career, so to speak, as
Yeah.
a design team member.
Yeah. I
So
agree completely. I think
Agree.
also you might end up finding yourself on a design team with someone that you already had a previous conflict with, and discuss those sort of things with the owner and say, this might not work out after all, only because, or yeah, your reputation follows you just like a store's reputation follows us. If we are the type of store that never gets back with our clients and I mean, our customers, our patrons, then that will follow us. If we have bad customer service or slow shipping rates or things that a customer relies on in order to be, interested in continuing to buy and patron that store, we have a responsibility. Well, the design team members and your reputation has the same responsibility, no matter where you go, however many teams you might end up on, or the things that are involved in the career that you're trying to do. So keep that in mind. You only get, that opportunity to stay professional the whole way through.
yeah, and I do think that the craft community, as large as it is, it can also be pretty small too.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of and I love, Angela and Sharon's comment earlier as well, that if you have a conflict or something or a concern, this is sort of a job, so there is some mutual understanding of having a healthy relationship. It benefits everybody. So giving all sides the opportunity to create a healthy relationship, I think,
Yeah.
is it sounds like that's really the ultimate goal. And if that relationship can't be had between those individuals, then that's okay too. And
Mm-hmm.
if somebody does find that they need to walk away early before term, is that okay on your team? Like, their contract isn't up, but they feel like they really can't fulfill the term?
I don't remember exactly how it was mentioned in my contract, but I can tell you that um, my preference is to get a little bit of notice so that we can
Mhm.
replace the dates that people normally go to the blog and look for something and you're not there. Don't ghost us. Simply said, just don't ghost any company. It's pretty much in general, no matter what job you have, don't ghost the company. Don't disappear, walk away, leave them empty-handed in any way, shape, or form. It's just bad. What's the word I'm looking for? Form. It's bad
Mhm.
form.
Juju.
So give notice.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it could be a week's notice, or it could be, like I'll work through the end of April, and then maybe we could stop. Great. That compromise comes in, but that starts with communication. So,
Wonderful. Okay. So that actually concludes the topics that I actually had planned. So I was following along as best I could, but if you asked a question and I don't bring it up now, please do feel free to bring it up while we have open Q&A. And Sandy and Tammy Louise, if you have a hard stop, also let me know that. And we can be sure to kind of get the wrap up questions covered, but I did have a couple of questions and topics that came up during the earlier roundtable discussion that weren't quite on topic, so I do want to make sure we address this. I thought this was a good one. So Renee asked, what do you see is the main mistake new DT members make? Thoughts on that?
New design team members have lower expectations for, I mean, I have lower expectations, especially if they don't have a ton of experience. So I'm kind of a hands-on leader. I'll say, you know, how are you managing our schedule? Did you understand what your expectations are? How did the date work out for you? Was it good? So I sort of grab their hand and lead, I think, with new design team members. It's been
Okay,
my
so
practice in the past, so I think I give a little bit extra leeway.
okay. So for somebody who's never been on a design team, you're more coaching them.
I think so. I think yeah, and especially if I know that you know this is really the career they're looking for, the hobby that they're trying to grow. Let's say they just started YouTube and they have 4 months worth of weekly YouTube videos and things like that, and I can see that they're really desiring that, and you know from what their application might have read to me that they are actually interested. Let's see where they can go. And their pictures, you know, were pretty good. And, you know, let's continue to work with them. Sure, I've taken on dozens that will do that. So
Awesome. And I see Jamie says spelling things wrong and incorrect links are a couple of big mistakes out of the gates. So that's
not
Yes.
understanding how to represent a brand is kind of one of the things that I've had issues with in the past too. Some people go in because they'll come in and they want to be in a design team because they love doing the craft and they don't really understand that what a design team member is, and that's okay because maybe they've never been on one before. But representing that brand, I think, is something that I have had to reiterate. Look, you're representing my brand. This is something that you know will show better or show worse, or you can do better. Let's try this. I'll work with you. Yeah. So brand representation is something that falls under that category.
yeah. Oh my gosh, Jamie, this is funny. We had a DT member who continually called us sweet sentiments plural. So
Oh,
speaking of representing the brand, let's get the company name correct. And so I just want to say though, like
oh.
it does some of these are honest mistakes. So, you know,
Mhm.
it isn't to say that, you know, anyone's intentionally doing these things, right? But I think the point of you know what Jamie is saying is that just take a moment, slow down a little bit, so that you're really maybe like read through once or twice to really just kind of make sure that what you're putting out there. I think I like to understand, and Jamie, Sandy, and Tammy Louise, you can let me know if you agree. It is a bit of marketing. And so it's not an off
Mhm.
the cuff, here's what I'm doing today, or here's what I have for dinner, snapshot of my dinner.
Right.
It's a bit of marketing. And so you should try to take a beat. That's not to say that we aren't human and mistakes happen, but just taking a beat to kind of read things over. And in my design team 101, the thing that I think a question came up as to, you know, what are some skills that DT members need to have? And my answer to that question was actually you know, how to represent a brand, a company, and in a way where I'm not just creating projects to inspire people to look at and you know, but also to influence people to purchase in a genuine way. Like part of our job I see is to help you sell your product, and so doing that in a way that is one correct with links and names of product, And I will be the first to admit I get names of product wrong sometimes. But I try my best not to do that. And so it is a little bit of just taking the extra minute or two to reading over what you're putting out there to catch those small mistakes. Um,
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. You've done that for me in the past. Some of my graphic work, I'm up at three. I should stop generalizing with the word we, but I'm up till 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And by then your
yeah.
eyes are glassed over, and there's never an intention behind it. Um, we are all human, but try your best. Do be the best you in anything you do. I think that's kind of what we all try to do, be the best, put the best foot forward, and look our best when we're going to a special occasion, or anything like that. Try
I
hard
love
and
I love this from Rabbit Hole Design. She says, I am famous for being in a hurry to get something posted and excited about the product. I actually misspelled Tim Holtz and Tim Hole as Tim Hole. I was so embarrassed. So it does happen to
right.
everybody.
Yeah.
But so honest mistakes happen, but
Mhm.
I think the point is try to do
And
your
don't
best.
repeat them. I mean, once you found that someone is spelling your company name incorrectly, and you communicate that with them, uh, don't repeat it over and over and over. Really, I guess I'm just looking for a very compassionate person that loves the craft, and is willing to represent us the best way that they can. You don't want someone to continue to not put your name right out there. So I don't know how I would handle that immediately off the top of my head, but it would have to get handled, because that's something that shouldn't be happening. The name of the
Yeah.
company is very important,
Yeah.
so.
And I do love, there is grace. So, Jamie says, I've spelled my own products wrong. It happens. Just try to catch it and be quick about fixing it. So, I think that's the takeaway is, be a little bit careful, but mistakes happen. We're all human. I see
Mhm.
lots of companies here in the live chat, they're owning up to their own mistakes
Oh, that's
and
great.
just learn from it and fix it, because I think Jamie's point earlier that I had on screen a moment ago is that um, consumers are looking to brand ambassadors, and if they see something that they like in how you've created it or used it on your project, they might go looking for that product. And if it's spelled wrong, if
That's
it's
the
called the
goal.
wrong thing, they're gonna have a hard time finding it.
Yeah.
So it's it has a very meaningful material impact to the company and the sponsor. So awesome.
I just would like to add, don't get your feelings hurt. If
Yeah.
we see that you missed something or that you did if we have to tell you, we might go out there and say, hey, you forgot your watermark. Can you go fix that?
Oh yeah.
Don't get upset. I
Don't
mean,
take it
everybody makes
personally.
mistakes and we
Yeah.
know that. We don't
Yeah.
have time to go, hey, your picture, it's missing the water, so we might just say, go out there and, hey, can you go
Yeah.
fix your picture out there? But don't get your feelings hurt. We just don't have a lot of time
Right.
pushing
Oh
all of that. So just know that it's just, we know everybody makes mistakes. It's not that big of a deal. Just fix
yeah.
it and move on.
I am so glad that you said that, Sandy, because I think that ties in a little bit with our previous conversation of you might be kind of running in between tasks, running your business, and you just saw it and you want to get it corrected. You're not being curt to be mean. You just want to
Right.
let them know
We're
so it
done.
gets
Just
corrected
go ahead.
quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think those are sometimes the little misconceptions that maybe, as a design team member, you're like, oh my gosh, she's yelling at me, you know, but that's not how you're intending it at all.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And so
I mean,
I'm glad you said
people
that.
just don't know. Yeah, people just don't know how much we have going on. And I probably was doing something entirely different.
Right.
I was in the middle of something and it popped up and I saw it. And so
Yeah.
I'll just say, hey, can you just go fix whatever? And then I'm back to what I was working on. So it just don't get your feelings hurt because we're just trying to help you and us. So,
Yeah. Jamie's hilarious. She says Sandy and I have to play good cop, bad cop, but we switch roles without notice.
I
yes,
need
we
somebody to
do.
switch roles with. Maybe you want to come over here and
I wouldn't say it's not it's fun. I mean, I won't say it's not eventful or adventurous, but it's a lot of fun. But yes, we do switch roles a lot, and
That's
yeah,
funny.
but we make
I
a
love
good team, I'll tell you that.
That's good. That's very nice.
I love that.
I did have a question for Sandy, if I could,
Sure.
if you don't mind. So, Sandy, out of curiosity, when your design team members become contracted, do you make it a point to personally have a conversation one-on-one, actually talk with them, or maybe Skype or Facebook Live or whatever it's called? Do you do that with designers? Like just
I
as
don't know
an
that
interim
we
kind of
generally
get
make.
to
I
know
mean, if
me?
they're a brand new person that doesn't know us, then yeah, we probably would.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
what I
would
mean.
probably take place when we gave them the contract.
Right.
Like
Okay.
here, this is the contract. This is what it says. Make sure you read over it thoroughly and let us know what kind of questions you have. And then we might follow up, after they've had time to read and digest and whatever. And then we'll have a regular conversation. Do you have any questions? I will say that sometimes that occurs with our design team coordinator, but we're always open to listen to that. I mean, that's more Jamie's realm of the world.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Jamie is more the marketing and the advertising I mean, she kind of conquers that world, that side of our business, and I'm more on the financial side. So yes, you can
I
always
see.
talk to me, but sometimes I might bounce you back to her because she's just better at it. She knows
Yeah.
all the ins and outs of
So,
what she wants,
And Jamie did
so
answer.
yeah.
She did say that I have personally spoken with every single DT member before they sign. And she says, yeah, we talk before they sign, answering questions prior, and then the ball is in their court. So
so that's
yeah,
great to hear, and I appreciate that information. I have a question for Lynn.
sure.
How, what's the best way to pose this question? Would you have been comfortable with conversing with me one-on-one had I done that? Had that been part of the process? I mean, is it something that, because I was never contacted by any of the design team owners that
Mhm.
I worked for, not ever. I mean, I never talked to them on the phone. It was always texting. But I think there's something in it, and I'm considering it.
Yeah.
I have a designer that wants to work for my store, and from what I'm getting via text and things like that, I almost want to call her. I almost want to speak directly with her and ask her what kind of questions she has. I get a little bit more of a feel for her
Mhm.
personally. So, what
Yeah.
is your opinion on that as a design team member?
That is interesting. So I would have to say that personally, because I have a day job, I find it hard to find the time for that. I feel like personally I would be open
Uh-oh.
to the conversation 100%. I just think that for me it might be
Go to
challenging to
go to
find
the
the time
speaker
for
behind you.
that. And so I think that, and I'm also the kind of person who I feel like I do a little bit better through like email communication or messenger communication because, especially with email, I can kind of fit that into my day a little bit better because I to give you kind of the run of my day, I like to do my day job, and in between day job hours, I do work at home for myself. So it's easy. I am my own boss. I can sneak in some crafty time here and there.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
then,
Hang on.
I like to.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think I just heard my earbud go like the battery was dying. So he's going to try and put it on a different microphone that's in the same room. So
Okay.
don't think I lost you. I am listening. So go
Okay, no
ahead. I'm
problem.
sorry.
Thanks for the heads up. But I still have my day job, so I like to work my day job, and then I like to work on my design team commitments, and I like to spend time with my husband, and I like to spend time with my dogs. And so I feel like I love to have that conversation, but I don't know if I had to actually like sort of one-on-one conversationally interview for every design team that I applied for. I feel like I would not have the time for that. Um, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's just me because of my schedule, how I like to communicate, and everybody is different. We're all we all have different skills, we all have different schedules. And so what works for me and my skills and my preference is not obviously representative of everybody. So
No, right.
kind of like what Sandy said, where, Jamie is like the marketing person and she's out there, she's talking to people and stuff like that. Um, I know it seems a little bit ironic considering how often I live stream, but I'm not an extrovert. So
It is surprising.
I love to talk when you get me started, but I'm not really an extrovert. So I almost prefer non-real time communication.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and I
Well,
think it's important to I think it's kind of important to point out too that we handpick,
Yeah.
so you didn't apply, so we
Mhm.
didn't know, so
Yeah.
we have to reach out to you somehow, and so I think it's just easier and better for Jamie to do it in a phone conversation to say, "Hey, we saw your work, we have some interest,
Yeah.
whatever she says." Oh, no, I don't hear, but I just think I think that makes a difference is, because we're inviting you, it just means more if it comes in a verbal conversation, I think.
Well,
So
I think there's that, and
it's a
then
little
there's
bit different.
yeah, and I think the thing is that some conversations are faster in real time. So I have an appreciation for
Mhm.
that as well. So I guess it kind of depends on the context, but just I wanted to just answer in broad strokes, but there is a nuance to that, right? It just depends on the conversation, and I think to your point, Sandy, there's a lot of especially if this is like conflict resolution kind of conversation, there's a lot of emotion that you're not going to see in a chat window or a text
right.
message. So I'm just
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot or anything.
oh, I
I
don't feel
think
put on the spot. I'm happy to give my opinion always.
good, good. I think I was just more interested because I am considering it.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
I
I think
have to think over it a little bit longer, and my design team coordinator is a full-time nurse, and sometimes she's like, I can't talk right now, and I have 20 minutes worth of conversation to have with her, and I don't want to text and I want to call her, but it doesn't always work in everyone's schedule. Look, this isn't everyone's full-time job, so yeah, I understand. I just think that there can be something very important, and it just came up with the issue that I'm having right now. That if I got on the phone with this woman and had a discussion with her and talked with her and got to know her a little bit, it might sway my decision
right.
whether or not to
Yeah.
add her to the team or not. So
Yeah.
it does hold value.
Yeah. Totally understand. Awesome. This came up a little bit, and there was a lot of conversation on this, including from Jamie. So she did cover this, but I wanted to bring it in front of both of you as well in case you didn't see it. So Sharon asked, maybe this has been covered, but do you allow DT members to be on DTs other than yours? So, is it possible to be on multiple design teams? And as you both think that one over, I did also start Jamie's response. So So I'll go ahead and read her response. There was some conversation, and I'll just summarize because I lost those chats. It was a while back. But Jamie did say, yes, we do allow multiple DTs. And she does talk about it with the design team, the prospective design team member before they actually join, in order to understand, what all other DTs you're on. And once you're on the team, I believe, Jamie, correct me, or Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is an expectation to also let you both know if your members will be applying for or will be joining other teams, because there may be some conflicts. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Hopefully I've stalled long enough so that one of you would like to start off with an answer to this one.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I will. Okay, so I agree. I mean, Jamie said it well. You can be on multiple design teams if you want. I mean, I've been on a design team, and I own a business. So, I mean, so you can do other stuff with other companies, but but know your limit. Know your limit, because you have responsibilities, and you don't want to filter on another company's because you wanted to join ours, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So, if somebody has an interest in being in our company, we do tend to ask, how many design teams are you on currently? Because, you might think that you can handle it, but once you start adding in all of the responsibilities and everything, I mean, it's a lot. It is. And if you wear yourself out like that, then you're just going to be unhappy. And we'd rather fade that off in the beginning.
Yeah.
So while we don't mind you being on other design teams, know your limit, like what you can manage and what you can handle with what the responsibilities are. So I think that's just important to consider. And then some design teams have some rules and policies about different other specific companies that conflict or are, so just know what all your design teams rules and requirements are before you join multiple teams. So I would just say, just be in the know.
Know your limits.
But but it does not deter us from asking if you are already on a design team. 9 times out of 10, that's how we saw you. But was that you're around advertising for other companies, so we see you. So.
Yeah. And just to stall a little bit for Tammy Louise's answer, one of the things that did come up as an answer to this in an earlier part is that there are some teams that do limit the number of teams that they would like you to stick to. And so generally, if that's the case, then it would be in their DT call if they're putting out an open call. So to Sandy's point, read and know, what the team is looking for, what their constraints or requirements are, before you apply, so that you know whether you are going to have a conflict. And there was a question in the chat as to what do you mean by conflict, and I'll take a stab at this, and Sandy and Tammy Louise, you can chime in if I'm wrong on this or if you want to add to it. But conflict can be in a couple of different areas, and one of the reasons why design teams, a company might want to limit you to a specific number of teams, is for Sandy's point just then, like, it is some time. So the more your time is fixed, so the more it's just logic. The more teams you're on, the less time you have for each individual team.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to always be able to increase the amount of time that you can dedicate to your crafty hobby. And so one of the things that some companies put in place just to help you put those limits is they will put some limits on there for you in order to ensure that you're going to have the time to dedicate to your projects for them. Not every company is like that, but that is one type of conflict that some companies want to try to avoid. Another type of conflict that some companies might want to avoid is competition. If
Mhm.
there is a company that specializes in one particular thing, they may not want you to represent another brand that also does that one particular thing. And that's understandable, especially for small businesses that are trying to carve out some space, and get their name out there. So there could be conflicts in a couple of different meanings, and so the best way to know whether or not to apply is to read over the open DT call if it is an open DT call. If it's not and you're inquiring directly about open positions, to ask those questions. Okay, Tammy Louise, did you have some thoughts on this?
Sure. So I agree with all of that, of course, but in that, the competition portion that you brought up a minute ago, it isn't necessarily that you're competing with it. I think that if a design team member makes a project for TLC Designs and they use 3 of my products and not a sentiment stamp from my store, and it's for a design team work, that kind of thing, you know that you're being a brand person, designer. If you use someone else's sentiment stamp, it isn't going to be something that we encourage. In other words, when you decide the teams that you want to be on, and some of us do limit, I don't particularly, but some store owners do limit how many teams as you can be on. Because we were designers too, and we know that working for this company and that company and that company, and oh, maybe I should stop, maybe I should slow down, maybe it's too much. We want designers that, because I am a small store, and I want a designer that is going to put the hour and a half in, not the 20 minutes into a project, the hour and a half or 2 hours into the project, and really devote their time and find the products that I sell and put all of that. If you're going to have a sentiment on your card and you work on my design team, I want one of my sentiments on that card. So I think that that's important to add too.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else that came up that Sandy said, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. That was really important, as far as the question was how many design teams and whether or not you limit the design teams and things like that. Know your limits,
Mm-hmm.
and try and put as much time in for every company that you decide to work for. It should be equal across the board. That's what I was going to bring up. It just clicked in my head. Don't work for this store and put 3 hours in your project. Visually, you can see when your love and your time and your energy goes in a project. We know, I know when someone is putting the time and the effort and the energy into that project, because I can see it. And if I know that they're on other design teams, and when I go to their Facebook page and 3 of them are for other teams and other companies, and they're well done, loved, and time spent on them, and then mine is a quick job because they're trying to fit it in. That's not the purpose that I look for a designer. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because this topic did come up in a Facebook group, and I think Danny Bindle replied and said, join the teams that you have a passion for
Mhm.
and give them the time,
100%. Yeah.
to those projects. And if you're not putting 110% in, then really reconsider whether you really have the time to be on as many teams as you are on.
You said that way
Because
better than I did.
well, because I think that there's a desire to be on a lot of teams because
Product.
it's fun. You get the
It's fun.
product and you get to build your own platform
Mhm.
and wherever that happens to be. But both of you have said, know your limits because it is a relationship that's meant to be mutually beneficial, meaning
Good.
you're
Yeah.
getting the product, but you need to be making good use of the product and showcasing that product so that it shines, so that people might feel inspired to buy it, to put it bluntly. But that is why you have that product, is to help market it and to
Yeah,
help influence
absolutely.
buying decisions. Okay. The other question that came through that I wanted to show is, um, do most DT contracts run only for 3 to 6 months? Is the expectation when the contract is done that you're done, unless the owners personally ask you to stay on?
Good
So,
question.
yeah, love to hear both of your thoughts on this. I don't know who wants to start.
Go ahead, Sadie, if you'd like.
Okay, ours is a year. Our
Okay.
contract is a year. And when it's time for the contract to be up, you're asked to renew if you want. And if you don't, then that's the time to step out. So we always, because you have to sign a new contract. So we do it for a year. We want our people to stay. We like them, they like us, they're like family. We treat them like that. And if they want to stay, we want to keep them. In my experience, most contracts are 3 or 6 months. That's what I've seen. I've seen it a
Yeah.
lot on the market. And then for me, it's been like when it's done, it's done. I've have had them ask again if I wanted to stay, so that can happen. It kind of gives them a short period to see your work, see if they like it, if they have any issues or whatever. And if it's a one and done, then it's an easy way for a company to step out if they're not happy with what you've done. I have actually been on a team, and when it was up, I said, "Can I stay? Can I stay? Can I stay?" And they said, "Well, of course, sure, yeah, absolutely." So, again, goes back to communication. Don't be afraid to ask. Um, so we do have a year contract. I will refer really briefly, even though we kind of already covered this, but if you have to get out of your contract early for a specific reason, we are negotiable to discuss based on the circumstances for anyone, because a year is a long time to commit. But so there's flexibility, but we do run it for a year because we like to keep our people.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's sorry, Tammy Louise, but
that's
it's
okay.
also probably easier for you to not be constantly recruiting. If
It does take
you
time. It
if
is
you
Very
time
keep your
true.
team
taking.
happy and they stay with you a long time, then that's less time spinning up a new team.
So, Sandy, I had a
Yeah.
question. You mentioned that you always keep them because you like them and you enjoy them. What if, I mean, I don't know, has it ever come across where your expectations were there for the first 3 or 4 months? You know, a year is a long term. I go 6 months, but um, the first 2, 3 months they were right on time. They were doing everything. We love the project, da da da. And then the fourth and fifth and 6 month and 7 month, you know, you might be having an issue. Have you always re-signed the same design team? Oh,
We have in our contract 3 strikes and
Mm,
you're out. So, I mean, when I say that, that means consistently you are messing up over and over. And our design team coordinator has had to remind, hey, you missed your post. Hey, you missed your post. Hey, you missed your post. Okay, then we're gonna let you go. If it's an oversight, I mean, you don't have to freak out. Like, we're not like the Nazi police. Oh, you're out. I mean, it's not like that, but we do have that little bit of leeway there to allow us to say, okay, you're struggling with if things change, because normally somebody will always have an excuse, oh, this is going on in my life. I haven't been able to, whatever, then we'll say, you know, it's probably best for both of us if you step away. If things calm down and get back and you'd like to rejoin, let us know. We allow there to be an open door if, but it's best for both of us if you're not complying to the contract for you to step away and then come back when things are better. We know that that happens to some people, but we do have a 3-strike rule. You continue to repeat the same thing.
Add that to my
we're done.
list of things to add to my contract. Now, it's a good plan. It's a good plan. I was just curious because some of my past design team members, they are on for the 6 months, and then uh, maybe they lose interest. Maybe because I'm a store that continuously brings out new releases, maybe they're not happy any longer. They were at the beginning. They did their 6 month term and they're kind of done with that store products. And so they want to leave. So you get a little bit of turnaround, I think, naturally. I don't think that it's anything that, there was some sort of drama or a cause for it. But I think that they're looking to move on too. Maybe they want to try another store and they want to add it to their list of previously owned watermarks. I have 30 that I've worked for, different watermarked companies, and so at some point in time, there's only so many teddy bears that you can color and put on a card and make it different. And I want to move on and work with Magnolia, or I want to stop with Magnolia and work for Simon Says, because they have 20 or 30 different companies that I can choose stamps from. So there's always that reason. But yeah, I can't keep them unless, they're design team coordinators and they love me. Yeah, I don't think Lynn is going to go anywhere for a while and things like that, but I think that they move on just as much as we, move on, switch up, can, keep it rotating. And also there might be other designers. There might be other designers out there that are just starting and they want to get into the business, and I don't have any more room on my team. So maybe it's good for my store to have a bit of rotation. A few of them might leave, and then I have room for, 2 or 3 more. So I think it's a good thing. It can be a negative thing
too.
Yeah. So I misunderstood then. I thought like once you had them for the first year, you bring them back the next year and bring them back the next year. I must have misunderstood.
No, if they're there for the whole year and they've done great, and then we say, if you want to stay, you can stay, sign the contract again, and we move on. Who's staying, who's leaving, who's, who wants to get out, who wants to stay in.
I did misunderstand.
We leave it open to them.
Okay.
Yeah, we do leave it open to them, but yeah.
I have to read this just because I appreciate it so much. Akoma Craft says, "No stamps for you." Seinfeld. That's a riff on Seinfeld. Huge fan. Thank you. Had to show it. But I do want to say, Sandy, I really appreciate that. As a DT member is coming towards the end of their contract period, that you do pose the question, because to the point of the person who asked the original question, I never assume when my contract period is coming to an end that I'm there to stay. I actually assume that my contract is done, and whether I want to or not, unless I'm specifically asked, I make other plans, because I never want to just, it would feel to me presumptuous to think that I'm automatically renewed for another term. And so I do appreciate, Sandy, that you said, that you ask, that you say, hey, you've done great work. We want to keep you. Would you be interested in re-upping? Because my contract period, I've been in a situation where it's kind of, getting to that last week. And basically I just let them know, hey, I, thanks for the opportunity. And I just assumed that I'm not there for another term. And I've made that assumption incorrectly sometimes, and they've asked me, oh, well, we'd love to have you stay. And then unfortunately, maybe I've made plans to be on another
Moved on.
team. So I just want to put that out there
Right.
for any store owners, because I don't know how other DT members are, but I would never presume you'd want me there longer than my contract unless you actually asked me to
So,
stay.
Mylin, I'd love for you to stay for a second term.
Thank
I'm just
you.
putting that out there.
Thank you. Well, it's
It's
just one
totally
of
up
those.
to you, but
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't want to overstep and assume anything.
yeah, and that's
And
the right thing to do. Yeah.
yeah, but then at the same time, I want to also put out there, because I think both of you have kind of mentioned that, change is good, diversity is good for how you like to compose your design teams. And as a design team member, from my perspective, I like to look for the same thing too. I
Yeah.
like to look for diversity in companies. There may be some companies that are stamp heavy. There may be some companies that are die heavy. There may be companies that um, do media supplies, things like that. And if I don't re-up with a team, even if they want me to, it may be because my goal is not because I don't like their team. It just might be my
Because
goal
you
is
need
to
to move
actually
on and do
diversify
something.
myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, the more you
So
do, the more you know. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And also, it helps me broaden myself personally as a crafter to other
Growing.
audiences too.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I feel like we are both looking for a lot of the same things,
that's
and
awesome.
just with different end goals. I'm not selling anything, but I guess myself.
No.
Um,
So,
but so
oh,
I
you're
just wanted
funny.
to throw that in there for whatever it's worth. Thank
Well, you're a
you.
gem, so yeah, you're invited. Just leave it out there in the world of web, you know.
Yeah. So Cynthia did ask this question, but I think we did cover it. So she did ask, do you ever let DT members go because their work was subpar? Oh, nuance, before their contract was up. And I think Sandy did touch on this, as did Jamie in the live chat, that you do have a 3 strikes you're out rule. So that could find somebody coming to the end of their time with your team before their contract is up.
So I'd like to add just a little bit to that, because that question can be read two different ways. It can be read, their work being subpar, like I'm not good enough, or their work being subpar, I'm not following the rules.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure which way she meant that question, but I did want to address it. So I'm glad you brought it up. Um, there's we aren't looking for people who are masters. So no, we've never let anyone go because their work wasn't the same style, quality, level as someone else. We've never done that. But if you're not following the rules, then the straight 3 strike policy comes in, and yes, we would let you go before your contract was up. So I hope that kind of helps clarify that a little bit, if you meant it under the other umbrella. Because if you're new and you're just coming into it and you're trying to follow these, what everybody else is doing, and you look at everybody else's work and you're like, oh my gosh, like they color so good and mine's not that good, are they gonna like get rid of me? No, no, we don't do that. We want everybody to see our stamps used in every way, including beginner, intermediate, advanced, all of it. So would you get let go because you're not as high a level person making this card, or you're a more new person? No. Mm-mm.
And that's a really fantastic point that you brought up. And for all of the folks who are watching this either live or on replay, the if you're new to crafting and you're maybe not like an expert colorist, I think a lot of times we feel, and I remember feeling this way when I was first sharing, and didn't feel confident in my skills as a crafter, and didn't feel like I would ever make it onto a team because I wasn't an expert colorist, and my work did not look as beautiful as everybody else's. And I still remember, Sandy, in that first live stream, that you were very encouraging to everybody who saw that, to say that just as you have now, that you are looking for all levels of crafter. It's not just the folks who have 20 years plus of experience, who went to art school.
No, I like the new guy. I like the new guy, you know.
Yeah, because,
You
and
can mold them too. They're more mold. You help them. You help grow. You know,
well, and I think as a company, it's a really
asset.
smart move on your part, because not most of your consumers probably are not Copic artists
Right.
or illustrators.
Right.
And I personally find it very reassuring and very real when I see on your product listings, cards and inspiration from all levels of crafters, because I feel like, oh, that is, you don't have to be like a super awesome colorist to make this look good
No.
and
No.
to use this product.
Mhm.
And so I feel like by doing that, by having members of your team that are maybe, of different skill level, it actually makes your product more accessible
Yes.
to a
It
broader consumer
widens
base.
yes, absolutely. It widens the buyer, the amount of buyers. And this is the same when Sandy brought it up, mixed media and some other things. It's everything that you can encompass in your design team widens and broadens your base, your customer base. I wanted to mention there are 3 umbrellas when it comes to what was the word that person used that you were identifying? The 2 umbrellas that you gave a little earlier. The third one is
Oh, subpar.
subpar. The third one is, and it's come up in my personal business with design team members, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. As I'm scrolling down maybe their Facebook page, and subpar can mean your products, your product pictures, your project pictures are showing subpar work by comparison to the other work that you are showing. So the 3 strikes is something I don't know whether or not you would encompass that within a third strike, but if you see a design team member that is capable of par work, good, solid design team work, lighting is great, everything. You see that they are capable and your projects are not equal to what they're putting out there for other companies, I would consider that subpar work as well. You know what I mean? It fits in that category. It's like 3 umbrellas,
Okay.
And I've seen it. I've seen it.
Okay. I see what you mean, Tammy Louise. So par being relative to that person's capability,
Yeah.
meaning that if you see their wall and you get a good sense for what they are capable of, but
And
you
you're not getting it.
see how they represent your products and the projects that they make for you, and by comparison to just their own work,
Right.
their own body of
Right.
work, it
Yes.
is subpar.
It
Did
is.
I capture that correctly?
Yes, yes. I would never turn someone away because they're not expert coloring artists. Um, the learning process is what it is. There has to be companies out there that are willing to take brand new card designers on as long as they have a Facebook page and things, and they're willing and they want to learn and they want to grow their skills. But when you see it in a person that is giving 100%, and those are very much different than what you're getting from them, I do consider that subpar. I don't know that I have to add a paragraph to my contract regarding this because it's something that I just learned. So I'm learning just as much as everybody else watching this.
Yeah,
and
and
I'm going to take it away with me and try and
yeah,
understand.
thanks. Well, I'm glad that this is a great conversation for all of us all the way around. And and it's I'm really thankful that we can have this conversation so openly and honestly as well. Okay, so anyone in the live chat, last call for any open questions that you may still have. There's one that I starred just to give folks in the live chat time if there are any questions we haven't already covered. But I saw this one come through, and it's kind of for me from Sola Campus. I am probably not pronouncing that correctly, so I apologize. And she asked, will you be having a bigger company come on? I think they run so differently, and my goal is we won't say, so that insight would be helpful as well. Okay, so I welcome anyone who wants to come on and have this conversation with me. I am a small channel, so I don't necessarily know that larger companies would find me, to be honest. And if you are watching anybody, any craft company out there, reach out to me, DM me. I am more than willing to invite you on, so long as you are just as Sandy and Tammy Louise have been willing to have this conversation openly and honestly. If and I think that's important, and that's why I really appreciate and am grateful, and I value um Sandy, Jamie as well, even though she can't be on screen with us. She's been very active in the live chat, and Tammy Louise too. Is that apologies, I do see the spam and I'm blocking. If anyone else sees any spam come up, please feel free to block. And so, yeah, I would welcome that opportunity. I have no plans for larger companies to join me, and I think that's just because I'm small and I don't have contacts with those companies. And I have to say, I said this in my blog post and on my post that I did not know Sandy and Jamie either before asking them to join. So it's not that I'm shy to ask. It's I'm happy to ask if they would. I'm just trying to be realistic that they may not. So if anyone has an in with anybody that they would like to be a part of this conversation, point them my way. And I would love that. And I have to say, Sandy, I know I've said this in my post, but I just want to tell you directly, thank you so much for for catching that first live stream, for being so open and honest in the live chat and so active in the live chat. It really did give me courage to I know I pinged you out of the blue to ask you to join this stream. And I'm very grateful to you. So thank you.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good content, so it kept me engaged for sure.
Thanks. So Sandy, some love for you. Jay just wants you to know that he really loved your marker cleaning live.
Oh, I'm so
Who knew
glad.
marker cleaning was a thing?
I mean, I've done it like 3 times, but I get the request all the time for marker maintenance because it's so important. I do it, but it was fun. I don't mind doing it. So if I get requests, I'll do it again.
Awesome. Wonderful. Okay, so we are getting to, I don't see any more questions coming through on the live chat. So what I will do is actually give both Sandy and Tammy Louise an opportunity to talk a little bit more about anything special going on with your stores. And as you say your final goodbyes, if you could also leave a couple of tidbits with our audience. So before you go, if you could, one, give your single piece of advice to crafters applying to a design team. If they're hoping to get onto one, what single piece of advice would you like to give? Second, for people who are already on design teams, what is the single thing DT members can do to make your life as a DT owner easier. And of course, if there is anything special or cool going on with your shop, please do mention that as well. So I am going to pass it to Sandy first.
Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. So we have a few things coming up that I wanted to touch base on, and that is we have a Marker Madness retreat that is coming in April. We still have some openings, and it's where we teach people how to color, and it's for beginners and is super fun. We have new releases the third Saturday of every month. So we just had an outer space release, and we have a new release coming in April. We do ATC swaps and color deck swaps. Color decks is the same thing as a memory decks. It's just that we call them color decks because we do it with our color cards. So we have those two swaps in our group. So if you're interested at all in doing any kind of swaps, just check out our Facebook group, which is Sweet Sentiment Stamps and Friends. And then we go to all the stamp and scrap expos all year. And we're joining a few of the CKCs and a couple of other ones, some in Florida and such. So follow our Facebook group and you'll know where we're going to be. And if we come to your local area, we would love to meet you. So come out and see us. So that's a little bit about us. I really, really appreciate you having us on, Jamie and I both. Jamie, thank you for being so active in the commenting. It has been very helpful. And then as far as the last questions, I think that you'll pick up Jamie's comments and in a few minutes on her close. But the questions that you had that you wanted me to ask, that you wanted me to address before I left, I do have them down here as well. So the most, what do you value most in your design team member? And what I wrote before this live started was the relationships. We build with our design team. They are like family to us. And even after they leave the design team, we still follow them, encourage them, and, wish the best for them in the future. So I think that what I get the most out of design team members is the relationship I get to build with them throughout that year when they're here. And that's important to me. What advice would I give to someone who is trying to get onto a DT? I'm going to say it again. I've said it several times while we're here. Communication and never give up, never surrender. Just keep trying. You will get there if you're determined. It took me a while to get on a design team the first time, and after years and years, the first time someone asks you to join their team when you didn't ask to join their team, man, it is the best feeling ever.
Thrilling.
So don't give up. Just join any small company team. As far as those big teams, I know people were asking if you could get like a large company to come in and talk about their design team. And I know there's some people in here who are already on design teams. And I do think that that's some great information that I would even like to have. But I would say when you're starting out, start smaller, because it's easier to learn how to be on a design team than to jump into a larger company. They're going to require more, and probably it's going to be more overwhelming and more, so my suggestion would be to start small and feel comfortable with what you're doing and then move up from there. But I don't know, because I haven't been on any really, really big teams. I've been on the medium size, but I have not been on any of the really big teams because we chose to do our own company instead. But,
Well, and I have to say towards that end that every team is different, and I think it's just going to be natural that the smaller the team, the more personal contact you're going to have with your team members and potentially the owner of the store directly as well. And so I think it's just a natural assumption that the larger the team, the larger the company, the more kind of layers there might be, and the more, as a result of that, the more disparate everything could be, because it needs to run with a certain amount of efficiency that may not have that personal touch or those personal relationships. And I'm not saying that as a rule. I'm just saying that that might be one reason to start with a smaller team, because I think it's easier to find that. Not to say that you can't find that on a larger team. I just think it's easier to find that, I've found anyways, on a smaller team.
Yes.
So I do want to bring up Jamie's comment.
She's so great.
Yes. So Jamie says, the single thing that this is in response to the single thing that a DT member can do to make your lives easier as owners is to don't make us babysit you. Please post when you say you're going to post, fulfill your contract, be an adult and not a drama queen. So I think that and cards by Kendra, hi. She says that she wished she could put hearts on comments on YouTube because she loves Jamie's comment.
Jamie has a way with words. She does have a way with words, I can tell you that. And that is why she writes the sweet sentiments. And I don't. Because she has a way with words and I have a way with drawing. So that's why it works. But yes, she's very good with sentiments.
Yeah. And Jamie does say, I've been on big teams and small teams. I love the small companies. It's more like home, and I love promoting small companies. And so look, Campus, oh gosh, sorry if I pronounced that wrong again, but she says, I love supporting small companies, but in respect, these other companies are small too. Well, they are. That's true. I mean, they are not a big box store in that respect. So it's all relative. So I take your point. I take your point. But the companies that you named, I don't think I'm on their radar in terms of having an eagerness to join my live stream and wanting to have this conversation. I would welcome them if they have a DT coordinator or an owner who would like to have this talk in, like I said before, an open and honest fashion, just as Sandy and Tammy Louise have been today. So, but I do get your point. They are in some respects small as well. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for that, because I was referring more to the ones that have multiple businesses under them kind of thing. But yes, you're right. So if anybody in this group right now currently works for any of those companies, they might be able to help out with that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and I welcome it, because I feel like I learn every time I have a new guest on here, and I think it's a good opportunity for us all. And I love that Tammy Louise has even said that as a guest on my stream, she is learning from the conversation too. And so I appreciate that, and I'm glad it's a good use of your time. Because I know that by and large, you're answering a lot of, kind of inquiring minds want to know type questions. And so you are doing us as DT designers and paper crafters a huge favor by, spending this time with us and being so transparent about everything. So I really appreciate that. Awesome. So I did, but I will do it again, copy and paste a link to Sweet Sentiment. And that way, all of the awesome things that Sandy mentioned with the events going on, the new releases, their website is probably a great place to go visit after this stream to find out more about all of those amazing things. So please do, when we're done here, pop on over and check out their shop. And then I will give Tammy Louise an opportunity to talk a little bit about anything new that's going on with TLC Designs. And if you can also answer those final two questions, what single piece of advice would you give to somebody who is trying to get onto a DT? And as a DT member, literally on your team, what can we do? What can I do to make your life easier?
Yeah, so the advice I would give to someone who's trying to get on a design team, research the store first. Know that it is a product, that they sell a product that you is in your range, what you enjoy doing. That's my best advice. Know what it is that you're going to have to be working with before you sign any contract and decide to actually commit time to it. So that would be my advice. The one thing that you all could do that would make my life easier, be flexible. Understand that there's a lot that is going on in the background of running the store, running the business. I do all of it. I need a Sandy. I don't have one. So sometimes there's going to be proposed dates and times for releases or things that come out. And in the background, manufacturing may be postponing it. Something needs to be changed because something that's in the background and you're unaware of happens. So flexibility is important to me. It would make my life very easy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And there's some love. Marianne from the Rabbit Hole Design says she owns your dragons. I think your dragon stamps.
By driving, you said?
Dragon.
Oh, the dragon beads. Yeah. Okay. Those are Maria Medella, and she's extremely talented. And they were one of the first stamps that I came out with 3 years ago, and I still have them. They're adorable. Thank you.
FYI, Jamie says you may not have my Sandy.
You may not what?
Have my Sandy.
Oh,
so Sandy is not up for grabs.
Are you sure?
That's my bestie for you.
There you go.
And I do want to, because if she was here, on camera, she would say this. So I do want to put it on screen for everybody that Jamie wants it written for the record. The greatest accomplishment of creating Sweet Sentiment has been going into business with my best friend. My heart is full,
That's
and
fantastic.
I'm so proud of what we have created.
How wonderful.
Should be. As you
yeah,
should
the
be.
two of you are very lucky. That's awesome.
Ditto, Jamie. She's the best. And that's why we're besties.
Tammy Louise, did you want to tell us about anything going on with TLC Designs?
Off the top of my head, I want to make sure that anyone that is interested in sketches, we do have a sketch challenge on a monthly basis, which is kind of fun because in the bundle, it's $5 and you get design paper, illustration, sentiments, and a sketch to follow. Sometimes it can really get the creative juices flowing to follow a sketch, adapt it any way you want, and then you can win a grand prize, which is a $5 gift coupon to the store. So that is going on a monthly basis. It starts on the first of the month. It ends on the last day of the month. We have bundles and suites of interactive products, and they are in the store. So that it's kind of, I want to start a subscription for this once I grow it a little bit more. But you can get some really good deals in the bundles. The one that I have coming out, hopefully, we're going to cross our fingers, right, Len? At the end of March is going to be a sweet, cute little double dial die product. It's going to have a die that kind of is interactive. It moves in a jumping manner, and there's some sweet little bunny rabbits, and you get a whole bunch of little things like the you can actually watch one of Lynn's videos and see the previous one. It was called Celebrate. It was birthday cakes and everything, but you get twine, and you get all the envelopes and 4 different card bases and stock and things like that. And it's kind of a all encompassed one purchase at one time, and you get a ton of products. So that's pretty much what's going on at Design or TLC Designs. I didn't have a lot of time to put anything else together, so yeah.
Well,
Join the village too. That's really important because I also do lives every night on Thursday, and I create something with the product. I'm doing a flower series right now, so if you would like to join in on Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Thursday, I go live with my little group of villagers, and that's really a crafty hour where we kind of just chit chat and get inky all together. So it's fun.
awesome. And I did copy a link to the TLC Designs shop. So that's in the live chat if you want
Thank
to
you.
check that out. And Tammy did remind me to also let you all know about the promo code. So you asked me to remind you of that. So
Yeah,
if you'd like, I can copy and paste that in the live
sure.
chat as well.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
Okay, so Tammy said that she would like to offer a promo code to her shop. The code is thanks 121.
Yep.
And are there details about that? It's $5 off, right?
$5 off $39. So if your purchase is $39 or more, and we also always have any purchases over $100 is free shipping. So, my store, I pride my store on being affordable to all budgets. I have no overhead. I don't wholesale. I don't have to hike the prices of my products. So, I'm able to pass those savings on to my buyers. And I think that it's important that everybody gets to craft a little bit, whether or not you have a large wallet or a small one. So
Yes.
you could get a lot for $39.
That's awesome, especially since I do know you have digital stamps, as you mentioned,
I
and
do.
so
So if
your
you live in a
dollar.
international country, it's an immediate gratification on your
Yeah,
purchase. You
I
can start
love
coloring
it for
it
that.
tonight. Yeah, and digis are great. You can invert
Yeah.
them and resize them, and there's no
And
storage, all sorts.
also, Jamie would like to also plug that Sandy is going to be on Craft Roulette this Friday.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
right. I
I'll
am
have
on
to catch
craft
you.
roulette.
I'll have to
So
catch
she's
So
got your back. So
yeah,
so
it's
everybody, Friday, if you're not familiar, Craft Roulette is a YouTube channel here, and so it's a really fun
really fun.
crafting game show, and guests come on and do a bit of live crafting. And so this Friday, yes, Sandy, this Friday or next Friday,
Yeah.
I guess, because
Yep.
it's Saturday.
The
Um,
31st. Uh-huh. The
so be
31st.
sure to join and catch Sandy do. It's always loads of fun because they don't know what they're making until
Yeah,
they get there.
that would
So
be very hard for me.
so
Yeah, I
you
don't know if
can't
I can handle
plan
that.
for that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little scary, I won't lie. Because you don't know what the wheel's gonna spin, and then you have to make
No.
something on the spot. So I've been practicing for 6 weeks now. Every Friday I try to do it with the show
Oh,
so
Oh,
that
that's
I
so cool.
can make sure that my brain will work the way it needs to work when it's time to do the show. So wish
Did you
me
find
luck.
did you find some of
that's
those categories
so
that
smart.
like they had categories on there of the type of card? There were things on there that I've never heard of, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
some kind of an envelope card or something, and I'm thinking, what is that? If that was something I was live and it would come up and I have no idea what it is, they'd have to explain it to me in silence somewhere in the background so I could make it.
It's really good. It's really good though because if it lands on that, they will explain it after the
Oh,
wheel spins and give you some suggestions and ideas. So you're not really ever left all out in the dark.
yeah,
So
that's
that's
great.
why it's so fun.
It is
And
fun.
Mary Gunn, the hostess, she does a really good job of like explaining anything that might trip somebody up. Like
That's
if
good.
there's a card
Yes.
design that,
Compassion.
yeah,
Yes.
and to Sandy's point, like the live chat also. Plus, you it's all in good fun. So if you can explain it, and and if you can, rationalize your choice, then anything flies. But I would be scared to to do
What
it.
if it's like, what if you land on, like robot or something? I've seen somebody and it
We
landed on
did.
robot. What if you don't have a robot stand? I mean,
That's
what do
why
you
I
Sandy
do?
drew
drew
one.
one. I
That's-
drew one.
Oh, I totally missed that one. That would have been awesome. I should
Yeah,
go back and watch it.
I didn't have any robots. We
Yeah,
do in our shop now because
I
we
do. I
released
do
them
not.
this month, but we didn't have one, so I just sketched one out and used that. But you could have printed something,
But you're an
like something off
illustrator
the
too, so
internet or
sketching it out for you would be super simple because you're an illustrator. I'm not super simple, but I mean, it's a little easier if you have some experience. But I would be like a square head with bolts on the side, Yeah,
But I'm telling you, there are some people in that group that have some creative minds that come up
yeah.
with some stuff. And it doesn't have to be great. I mean, you don't have to be able to be an
No,
illustrator. I mean,
I
you could have
noticed that
drew
too.
a stick robot and it would have been fine. As long as you have a good story, you're good.
Right,
yeah.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah. Jamie says the worst part was what we had one set to release like 2 weeks later.
Yes, we knew the robots were coming, and then they drew the robots and had them in the show. And we were like, oh, we just missed it by 2 weeks. They're coming.
Oh,
So our
goodness.
robot like this.
I love your robot.
Oh, that is
Aren't they
sweet.
cute?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I saw you coloring that live a little bit before I had to bounce.
Yeah, and this one I did the other night. This is
Oh,
part of the set that I drew.
Oh,
That little
that's cute
alien.
too.
love
Yeah.
it.
So
Love it.
anyway, I just had those laying on my desk, so I thought I'd pop them up there. But
No, it's good. I
yeah,
love seeing it. Well, thank you so much. I know I told you I wasn't sure if this would go for as long as it has, but we are we are at 3 hours and 45 minutes, and so thank you to Sandy, Tammy, Louise, and Jamie Clark in the live chat.
and
Really
thank you to the
appreciate.
live chat. Yes,
Yeah, and
they were great.
absolutely. 100% agree. Thank you to everybody who joined us live and was part of this conversation. Thank you for all of your questions and for sharing your experiences as well. Huge thanks to you, and thanks to everybody who's catching us on the replay too. I know that maybe not everybody could join us live, so if you are catching us on replay, thank you. And if there are still some questions you have in mind, please do leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to see them. And if they are questions for Tammy, Louise, Sandy, or Jamie, I can also, pass those on to them too. And so really appreciate everybody's time today. And before we leave, I will make a last ask to, if you haven't already, please do like this stream. And also, even though we are wrapping up, if you found this conversation interesting, informative at all, please do share it, because I think even on replay, it is a good conversation to listen to, even for folks who can't maybe participate in real time. So if you could do me that favor, hit that like button, hit the share button. Anyone who has contacts with other people that they might like to join on a
I
future
could hook you up.
stream.
I could do something.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I would welcome that conversation and having more streams at the outset. When I was setting the ground rules for this conversation, I wanted to be careful to say that, Sandy and Tammy Louise are here. They have a lot of experience, but that's what they're sharing is their personal experience and their opinions and thoughts based on those experiences. And every company, every person, every design team is different. And so I don't think it will be a repeat to have different craft company owners or design team coordinators come on and share their thoughts as well. So I am very open to that. If anyone would like to put me in touch with folks that they think might be interested in joining a future stream.
It could be an effective conversation to have larger stores. I agree.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. I just don't know anybody.
Okay.
All right. So that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Jamie, I hope your bronchitis gets better and that
Oh,
you are
yeah.
getting rest. So um, without further ado, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.